Chapter 8:24. Swoosh. You guessed wrong. The slightly skinny and slightly fat martial artists were both defeated, causing Yen Mo, who was on the city tower, to stand up with a swoosh, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Yen Mo frowned slightly, then tore the void and disappeared. Chi. The moment Yen Mo disappeared, Ningyu felt the space around him tremble. Retreat. Ningyu reminded the Dark Emperor, then rose from the ground and quickly retreated. F***ck. Actually, there was no need for Ningyu to remind him. The Dark Emperor had long noticed that something was wrong. The moment the space trembled, the Dark Emperor scampered backward. The Dark Emperor and Ningyu had just taken a few steps back when a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Yen Mo. Seeing the martial artist who suddenly appeared, before Ningyu and the Dark Emperor could say anything, the slightly fat martial artist and the slightly thin martial artist shouted in unison. It is indeed a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. Ningyu took a deep breath and tried hard to calm himself down. Although after advancing to the half-step manifestation realm, Ningyu's strength had a qualitative leap, and he had also killed the peak of the manifestation realm Jin Absolute Dragon. However, the Yen Mo in front of him was much stronger than Jin Absolute Dragon. Without considering the trump card, 2 Jin Absolute Dragons might not be a match for Yen Mo trash. Go back and reflect on yourself. Yen Mo glared fiercely at the slightly thin and slightly fat martial artists and berated. I told you long ago that you can't be careless no matter who you meet, or else you might suffer a loss. You just didn't listen. Do you know how Jin Absolute Dragon and Qiu Jian died? It was because they were too arrogant that they didn't tell me in time when they discovered something. That's why they ended up dying. After being scolded by Yen Mo, the slightly fat martial artist and the slightly thin martial artist did not dare to breathe loudly and listened obediently. Yen Mo was their immediate superior. Besides, whether they could take revenge or not depended on Yen Mo. What's your name? Why are you behaving atrociously here? After berating him, Yen Mo turned around and stared at Ningyu. He said calmly, also, what is your cultivation? What is your identity? Tell me everything. There is no need to hide. There is no point in trying to play these tricks before me. 4 or 5 questions, which one should I start with? Ningyu shrugged and said, since you can guess my cultivation, why bother asking me? Humph. You're about to die, yet you still dare to play tricks. Demon Yen snorted coldly and said, don't think that I don't know what your cultivation is. If I'm not wrong, you should be at the peak of the creation realm like me. Voila! As soon as Yen Mo's voice fell, a series of exclamations rang out in the surroundings. Is he at the peak of the creation realm? No wonder he could defeat the 2 guards with one move. So he is at the peak of the fate realm. As expected, he hid his strength well. The world has changed. In the past, even half-step creation realm martial artists were rarely seen in World King City. Recently, not only have there been more and more early-stage creation realm martial artists, but there are also more and more peak-stage creation realm martial artists. Yes, I'm afraid Yuan Dan realm martial artists like us will have a hard time in the future. After the exclamations, the crowd sighed. Ningyu did not care whether the crowd sighed or not. He waved his hand and said, Yen Mo, it seems that I have overestimated you. You overestimated me? Don't play tricks here. Even if you are at the peak of the creation realm, you will not be able to escape death, Yen Mo said coldly. No. You are wrong. Very wrong. Ningyu stretched out his finger and shook it. He said, I am not at the peak of the creation realm. At this point, Ningyu paused for a moment. Then, Ningyu's aura instantly exploded. Boom. The aura shot into the sky and disappeared in a flash. He is indeed at the peak of the creation realm. At such a young age, his cultivation has already reached the peak of the creation realm. How incredible will he be in a few decades? Won't he become the first supreme realm martial artist in the Great Xia Kingdom? I was still wondering if he was at the peak of the creation realm just now. Now, it seems that I was overthinking. He is indeed at the peak of the creation realm. It would have been better if Ningyu did not reveal his aura. Once his aura was revealed, a fact was confirmed in everyone's heart. He was at the peak of the creation realm. The crowd could not see through Ningyu's true cultivation, but Yenmo could see it clearly. Half-step creation realm. Yenmo naturally realized that Ningyu was only at the half-step creation realm. After knowing Ningyu's true cultivation, Yenmo felt his face burning up, as if his face had been slapped so loudly. Your guess level is not good. Why don't I guess your identity? The corner of Ningyu's mouth rose. He stared at Yenmo and said in a clear voice, Yenmo, peak of the creation realm, a member of the Corpse In sect. Boom. Ningyu's last sentence was like a bomb that completely exploded in this area. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. At first, it was still fine. Everyone was not too far away from the Realm King City's gate. Now that they heard Ningyu's words, everyone moved away from the Realm King City's gate. In the Great Xia Kingdom, all the martial artists would change their expressions when they heard the words Corpse In sect. A bunch of nonsense. Yenmo shouted in a low voice and immediately grabbed at the void. Immediately, a ball of essence chi light was caught in his hand. Go! As Yenmo shouted, the ball of essence chi light in his hand attacked and flew towards Ningyu. All the martial artists of the Corpse In sect who rushed over from the Great Hill Royal City, come here. Yenmo was not a fool. For Ningyu to be able to burst out with the aura of a peak of the creation realm with his half-step creation realm cultivation, it was enough to show how powerful Ningyu was. To deal with such a peerless genius, they should gather everyone's strength and completely defeat him. Once this kind of genius had the chance to make a comeback, the consequences would be unimaginable. Go! Facing the ball of essence chi light, Ningyu did not choose to fight it head-on. Instead, he used his spells and immediately rushed out of the Realm King City. Not good, he wants to go to Dugu Forest. Seeing Ningyu escape, Yenmo's expression changed drastically. He quickly tore the void and chased after him. Outside the Realm King City, the direction in which Ningyu escaped was the direction where Dugu Forest was. Dugu Forest was the most mysterious forest around the Realm King City. There were rumors that there was a teleportation array in Dugu Forest that could directly teleport to the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range. There were even rumors that the deepest part of Dugu Forest was a treasure land with all kinds of precious herbs. Of course, these were all rumors and had no way to verify them. However, in the past, there were two families in the Realm King City, the Zhao family and the Hu family. At that time, the Hu family was even more powerful than the Zhao family. It was because of a wrong decision made by the Hu family's ancestor that led to the rapid decline of the Hu family and gradually withdrew from the stage of history. The wrong decision made by the Hu family's ancestor was to mobilize the entire family to go deep into Dugu Forest. In the end, no one survived. Russell. At this time, in Dugu Forest, a man and a beast were rushing forward. The man was Ningyu and the beast was the Dark Emperor. Why do I feel that something is wrong? Chapter 825. Dugu Forest, what's wrong? Ningyu looked at the Dark Emperor with a frown. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, my heart skipped a beat just now. The Dark Emperor shook his head and said solemnly, be careful from now on. There might be something strange in this forest. Yes, I know. To be honest, it was the first time Ningyu saw the Dark Emperor being so solemn. In the past, no matter how strange it was, the Dark Emperor would not be like this. Since the Dark Emperor was like this, it meant that there must be something in the depths of the forest that he was afraid of or concerned about. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure approached from afar and appeared in front of Ningyu and the Dark Emperor in an instant. Good thing we didn't go into the depths of Dugu Forest. After appearing, Yen Mo took a deep breath and murmured, as if he was relieved of a heavy burden. This forest is called Dugu Forest. Although Yen Mo's voice was very low, Ningyu still heard it. There must be something strange in Dugu Forest. Hearing Yen Mo's words and combining the Dark Emperor's reaction just now, Ningyu keenly realized that there might be something related to the corpse insect in the depths of Dugu Forest. Moreover, that thing was something that the corpse insect valued greatly. Thinking of this, Ningyu said calmly, Yen Mo, what are you trying to do by chasing me all the way from the regional king city? What am I trying to do? Do I need to say it? Of course, it's to take your dog life, Yen Mo said coldly. Take my life? Just you alone? Ningyu asked doubtfully. Ha ha, I don't need anyone else's help to kill you. Yen Mo threw his head back and laughed wildly. Then, he changed the topic and said sinisterly, Besides, you are also alone. Let's fight one-on-one and rely on our own abilities. No, 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 you're wrong again. Ningyu waved his hands at the same time and said, Come out and let Yen Mo know that I'm not fighting alone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hearing Ningyu's words, the silver-winged dragon, the twin horns beast, and even Furball flew out from the storage ring. A half-step creation realm useless dog and 2 early-stage creation realm demonic beasts. Yen Mo was still as calm as ever as he said indifferently, I'm afraid these pieces of trash won't even be able to block a single move from me. Sigh, there are so many arrogant people. Ningyu sighed softly and said, Do you think I escaped from World King City because I am afraid of you? Now I'll tell you the truth. The reason why I came here from World King City is because I don't want to expose my strength in front of so many people. Cut the crap, hand over your life. Yen Mo didn't want to waste time with Ningyu here. If Ningyu discovered the secret in the depths of Dugu Forest and caused trouble, Yen Mo would have to die in the line of duty. So, Yen Mo used 100% of his strength in this punch for the sake of killing Ningyu with a single punch. Ningyu, you deal with Yen Mo here first. I have to leave now. Before Ningyu's fist could meet Yen Mo's, the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground with his hind legs and dashed out like a bolt of lightning. He was heading towards the depths of Dugu Forest. Silver-winged dragon, twin-horned beast, Furball, follow the Dark Emperor. Seeing the Dark Emperor's actions, Ningyu hurriedly instructed. Swoosh. As demonic beasts, the silver-winged dragon and the other 2 sensed a terrifying aura. Furball, in particular, did not need Ningyu's reminder at all. He was the first to follow behind the Dark Emperor and disappear. Swoosh. Swoosh. The silver-winged dragon and twin-horned beast gritted their teeth, as if they had made a huge sacrifice, and followed closely behind Furball. Damn it! Yen Mo's powerful punch had originally wanted to kill Ningyu. However, when he saw the Dark Emperor and the other demonic beasts rushing towards the depths of Dugu Forest, his expression changed drastically. After cursing under his breath, he hurriedly turned around and chased after them. Yen Mo, your opponent is me. Before the outcome of the battle is decided, it's best that you don't go over. Ningyu's figure flashed and blocked Yen Mo's path. I advise you to move aside. Yen Mo threw a punch. Instantly, a violent fist aura tore through the air and blasted towards Ningyu's head. As Yen Mo's attention was on the Dark Emperor and the others, he only used half of his strength in this punch. Yen Mo's punch with half of his strength definitely could not defeat Ningyu. In fact, he could not even touch Ningyu's body. The more anxious you are, the more I won't let you go over. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He flipped his wrist and took out the Red Devil Sword. Solitaire! Ningyu waved the Red Devil Sword repeatedly, and in an instant, he slashed out several sword waves. The power of each sword wave was extremely strong, forcing Yen Mo to pay 120% of his attention. Brat, you forced me to do this. Yen Mo clenched his fist. He opened his mouth and spat out a gasp. This is dead spirit chi? Seeing the gas floating in front of Yen Mo, Ningyu said hesitantly. At least you know what's good for you. It's your honor to be corroded by the dead spirit qi. Yen Mo sneered and then pushed his hands forward, pushing the dead spirit qi towards Ningyu. As expected of the higher-ups of the corpse sect, the power of your dead spirit qi is even stronger than Jin Absolute Dragon's. Ningyu curled his lips. Then, Ningyu shook his head and said, Unfortunately, I can kill Jin Absolute Dragon. I can also kill you. As soon as the word kill was said, Ningyu swung the red devil sword in his hand. Jin Absolute Dragon? You killed Jin Absolute Dragon. At first, Yen Mo was a little confused. However, he quickly reacted and his face was full of shock. Yen Mo knew that Jin Absolute Dragon was killed, but he didn't know who killed Jin Absolute Dragon. Originally, Yen Mo thought that Jin Absolute Dragon must have been killed by an expert of the Soul Sect. After all, Chu Guang, who was trapped by Jin Absolute Dragon, was from the Soul Sect. However, when Yen Mo heard Ningyu's words, he suddenly realized something. It turned out that the martial artist who killed Jin Absolute Dragon was not from the Soul Sect. It was this half-step manifestation realm kid in front of him. No, could it be that you are from the Soul Sect? Suddenly, Yen Mo seemed to think of something and said in horror, Chi. However, before Yen Mo could get a reply from Ningyu, his eyes widened and his face was full of disbelief. Yen Mo realized that the dead spirit qi that he had sent out in the air was actually swallowed by the blood-red flying sword. Yen Mo was a little confused. One should know that his dead spirit qi could be ranked among the top in the corpse sect. How could it be swallowed so easily? Yen Mo, since I can kill Jin Absolute Dragon, it means that I have a way to refine his dead spirit qi. Ningyu put away the red devil sword and said indifferently, If you lose the dead spirit qi, your strength will drop by at least 10 to 20%. How are you going to fight me? On the surface, Ningyu was very confident, but secretly, Ningyu was very careful and secretly communicated with the Red Devil. Red Devil, I will give you all the Xingyang pills produced by the flower bud. How long will it take for you to refine the dead spirit qi? The flower bud doesn't produce too many Xingyang pills. Even if you give them all to me, I will need 3 hours to refine the dead spirit qi, the Red Devil replied. No, 3 hours is too long. Ningyu said in a deep voice, Is there any other way? Although Yen Mo's strength did not decrease because of the dead spirit qi, Ningyu's strength also decreased because he did not have the Red Devil sword. Without the Red Devil sword, Ningyu could at most contend with Yen Mo. It would be very difficult to kill him. Chapter 8:26. Just in time, there is a way, but the Red Devil gritted his teeth and said, not to refine the dead spirit energy, but to seal it in the Red Devil sword. I'll leave this to you. I'll block Yen Mo first, Ningyu said in a low voice. With my strength, I can only seal the dead spirit energy for 3 minutes at most. After 3 minutes, the dead spirit energy will definitely break the seal. The Red Devil said again. At that time, if we can't find a way to suppress it, it will break the Red Devil sword, or explode in the Red Devil sword. 3 minutes, huh? Ningyu took a deep breath, his expression solemn. Logically speaking, it would be very difficult for Ningyu to kill Yen Mo in 3 minutes. But now that things had come to this, he had no other choice. He could only fight with his life on the line. The next moment, Ningyu took out the Red Devil sword that he had put away long ago, and the primordial qi in his sea of consciousness was frantically injected into the Red Devil sword. Buzz. With the injection of primordial qi, the Red Devil sword let out a buzzing sound. Ding. When the buzzing sound reached its peak, Ningyu's legs bent slightly. With the sword in front and his body behind, he charged at Yen Mo like a cheetah. Kid, you forced me to do this. Looking at Ningyu who was constantly approaching him, Yen Mo's eyes shone brightly. After a low shout, Yen Mo flicked his sleeves, and a silver-white whip appeared in his hand in an instant. Crack! Yen Mo quickly waved the whip in his hand, making cracking sound. God's striking whip. The whip that Yen Mo took out was called the God's striking whip, a middle-grade king-level Dharma treasure. The God's striking whip had a special characteristic. It was tough, comparable to the body of a warrior at the peak of the creation realm. Ordinary Dharma treasures and flying swords could not affect it at all. Kid, I want to see whether the flying sword in your hand is stronger, or my God's striking whip is stronger. The corners of Yen Mo's mouth curled up, and the God's striking whip quickly lashed out to meet the red devil sword. Swoosh! However, what happened next caused Yen Mo's pupils to shrink, and he could not help but retreat. Ningyu raised his sword and slashed at the God's striking whip. The sword and the whip collided. What Yen Mo had expected did not happen. Instead, the deity's striking whip was broken by the flying sword in Ningyu's hand. Yen Mo opened his mouth slightly as he looked at the small section of the whip that had fallen to the ground. His face was filled with confusion. The deity's striking whip was a middle-grade king-rank magic treasure, yet it was broken just like that? A flying sword that could cut the deity's striking whip in half. Did that mean that the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand had reached the emperor level? When he thought of this, Demon Yan's face burned with passion. The God's striking whip was only a mid-grade king-grade magic treasure, so losing it was losing it. If he could obtain a monarch-grade flying sword, then everything would be worth it. Brat, hand over the flying sword in your hand, and I can leave your corpse intact, Yen Mo said coldly as he threw the remaining half of the God's striking whip to the side. Noisy! Ningyu knew very well what he had to do. The Red Fiend could only seal the dead spirit chi for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the dead spirit chi might very well break the Red Fiend's sword. There was only 3 minutes left for Ningyu. There was not much time to begin with. How could Ningyu possibly waste time talking nonsense with Yen Mo here? Therefore, after Ningyu said this, he gripped the Red Fiend's sword again and charged at Yen Mo humph, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yen Mo snorted coldly. He fully unleashed the aura of a peak creation realm and pressed down on Ningyu. At the same time, in order to quickly defeat Ningyu, Yen Mo wrapped all the primordial chi in his body around his wrist. His fist brought along an extremely violent primordial chi gale as it ruthlessly slammed towards Ningyu's head. The power of Yen Mo's punch was extremely great. It could be said to be the most powerful move he could execute at this stage. In the past, Yen Mo had used this move to easily kill martial artists of the same level. He first used his aura to oppress the other party, then combined it with the primordial chi in his body to deliver a shocking punch. Your oppressive aura is useless against me. The primordial chi in Ningyu's consciousness churned. The primordial chi on his right fist was no less than that on Yen Mo's fist. The oppressive aura of a supreme martial artist might be able to affect Ningyu. However, Ningyu did not take the oppressive aura of a peak creation realm seriously at all. Palm of life and death. When the primordial chi on his fist had gathered to its peak, Ningyu suddenly opened his fist into a palm and grabbed at Yen Mo's fist. Don't think that you can block this punch of mine just because your palm defeats my fist. To tell you the truth, if you think that way, you are dreaming and deceiving yourself with primordial chi, Yen Mo said sinisterly. Is that so? Just as his palm was about to collide with Yen Mo's fist, a smile appeared at the corners of Ningyu's lips. Ningyu's sudden action caused Yen Mo's heart to skip a beat. He faintly felt that something was wrong. However, Yen Mo was a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm. He had a firm will. He shook his head and tried hard to calm himself down. Then, Yen Mo's fist unavoidably collided with Ningyu's palm. Bam! A muffled sound rang out. The huge force that came from the palm caused Ningyu's pupils to shrink slightly. Pain appeared on his face. Ha ha ha, boy, your fate has long been decided. Fighting with me, you are destined not to have a good ending. Seeing Ningyu's appearance, Yen Mo laughed wildly at the sky. Puff! However, just as Yen Mo's arrogant laughter fell, a crisp sound rang out in the area. Yen Mo had wanted to say something, but when he heard this crisp sound, he was instantly dumbfounded. Yen Mo lowered his head and looked at the blood-red flying sword that had pierced into his heart at some point. His eyes widened and his mouth opened. He extended his palm and pointed at Ningyu, saying in disbelief, "How is this possible?" Puff! Ningyu kicked Yen Mo's body and used the force to retreat rapidly. Yen Mo, nothing is impossible in this world. Where there is desire, there is weakness. Ningyu wiped the blood off the red demon's sword and said calmly, "You want this flying sword of mine. This is desire. Desire has blinded your eyes, causing you to only notice when the flying sword pierced into your heart. Impossible. Absolutely impossible." As Yen Mo spoke, he retreated backward. "You want to leave?" Ningyu naturally knew what Yen Mo was planning. However, he did not plan to let Yen Mo go. Against a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm, he had to kill him on the spot. Moreover, he had to kill him until nothing was left. Go. As soon as he said he would, Ningyu quickly threw out the red demon's sword in his hand. Whoosh! The red demon's sword drew a beautiful arc in midair. Under Yen Mo's almost despairing gaze, it drew closer and closer to him. No. Puff! Yen Mo let out a hysterical scream. The next moment, the scream came to an abrupt end. Yen Mo opened his mouth slightly, wanting to say something. However, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell backward with an indignant expression. Puff puff! The red demon's sword pierced into Yen Mo's chest. In a short few seconds, Yen Mo had been devoured into a skeleton. Crack! Ningyu waved his hand and a strong gust of wind blew, turning Yen Mo's remaining skeleton into nothing. 3 minutes, just right. Chapter 8:27. Hidden Hall. Rustle! Rustle! As soon as Ningyu destroyed Yen Mo's skeleton, a series of rustling sounds came from the surroundings. 10 martial artists! Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. On the other side, he felt at least 10 powerful auras. Among them, the lowest aura was at the early stage of the manifestation realm, and the highest was at the peak stage of the manifestation realm. Moreover, the peak stage manifestation realm martial artist was much stronger than Yen Mo. Let's go! After the battle just now, Ningyu had consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, the red demon sword needed at least 2 to 3 hours to be used. Therefore, Ningyu made a prompt decision and disappeared in a flash. Swoosh! 10 minutes later, a group of 10 martial artists appeared. No one. Among the 10 martial artists, an old man at the peak stage of the manifestation realm frowned. What the hell is Yen Mo doing? After a while, the old man at the peak stage of the manifestation realm said in a deep voice, "Leave 2 people here to guard this place. Other than the people of the corpse sect, no one is allowed to step into Dugu Forest." As the old man's voice fell, he tore through the void and flew toward the depths of Dugu Forest. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh! Behind the old man, 7 martial artists moved in unison, following closely behind him and disappearing without a trace. Buzz! Not long after the group of people from the corpse sect left, the space in this area cracked again. Then, 9 martial artists slowly walked out of the void. Hiss! Seeing the 9 martial artists that suddenly appeared, especially the young man who led the group, the 2 early-stage manifestation realm martial artists from the corpse sect couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Half-step Supreme Being Realm. The young man who led the group had reached the terrifying half-step Supreme Being Realm. He was only 1 step away from advancing to the true Supreme Being Realm. One had to know that even in the corpse sect, half-step Supreme Being Realm martial artists were the absolute upper echelons. How could the 2 martial artists from the corpse sect not be afraid? In fact, the 2 martial artists from the corpse sect were trembling all over and had the urge to kneel down. Song-yi, is the news reliable? Did Ningyu really enter Dugu Forest? The young man at the half-step Supreme Being realm said in a deep voice with a gloomy face. Reliable, absolutely reliable. Sangyi patted his chest and said, I can guarantee with my life that Ningyu has definitely entered Dugu Forest. There's no need for you to guarantee it. I'll know once I ask. The half-step Supremacy Realm young man waved his hand as he stared at the cultivator of the corpse sect and said, Is Ningyu in the solitary forest? Ningyu? I don't. Hearing this, one of the corpse sect cultivators said. However, before this corpse sect cultivator could finish speaking, his head was separated from his body. I don't wish to hear any nonsense. The half-step Supreme Being pointed at another cultivator and said in a deep voice. Seeing their companion being killed so easily, the remaining corpse sect cultivators felt their legs go soft. Ningyu is in solitary forest. The remaining corpse sect cultivator's voice suddenly stopped. You. He pointed his finger at the young man who was half a step to Supreme Being. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he fell to the ground and died on the spot. Get rid of them. After saying this, the half-step Supreme Being rose from the ground and rushed straight into the depths of solitary forest. After dealing with the two corpse sect cultivators, Song-yi and the others immediately moved and disappeared in an instant. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After Song-yi and the others disappeared, a few more groups of people stopped in this area. However, the people behind them only stopped for a moment before they went deeper into solitary forest. Ningyu didn't know that so many people had gone to solitary forest. At this moment, he was jumping back and forth in solitary forest at his fastest speed. As he went deeper into solitary forest, the uneasiness in Ningyu's heart became stronger and stronger. In the end, Ningyu didn't even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. While Ningyu was moving at full speed, the scene in the depths of solitary forest was completely different. Who could imagine that there was a luxurious palace in a forest full of trees? Just from its appearance, one could tell that this palace was built a long time ago. TSK, what an unexpected harvest! At this moment, inside the palace, a skinny old man laughed sinisterly. This place is already very secretive. Furthermore, there are layers of formations protecting it. I didn't expect you guys to be able to come here. Looks like today is indeed my auspicious day. Auspicious day, my ass. Opposite the skeletal old man, there were a total of 4 martial artists. No, to be precise, there were 4 demonic beasts. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely realize that the 4 demonic beasts were the Dark Emperor and the others. The Dark Emperor's expression was cold as he stared at the huge skeleton behind the old man and said coldly, I advise you to stop the formation. Otherwise I'll let you know, hold it right there. Forgive me for asking, but do you think a few small fries like you can order me around? The skeleton old man waved his hand and interrupted the Dark Emperor before speaking indifferently. Rumble. Following this, the old man unleashed his aura. Poochie. Poochie. As soon as the old man unleashed his aura, the Dark Emperor and the others couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Grade 1 Supreme Being. The Dark Emperor's face was filled with fear and despair. No, not a Grade 1 Supreme Being. He's just a half-step Supreme Being. Suddenly, the Dark Emperor seemed to have thought of something and said in a deep voice, the reason why you can unleash the aura of a Grade 1 Supreme Being is because of the huge skeleton behind you. The skeleton of the Heaven-Devouring Hound. You're a smart Heaven-Devouring Hound. The old man smiled and said, initially, I was worried that I would be weak for a period of time after refining the Heaven-Devouring Hound's skeleton. It seems like the heavens are on my side. As long as I devour and refine you guys, I can avoid that period of weakness. If you want to devour and refine us, let's see if you're capable enough. At this moment, the silver-winged dragon spoke. The silver-winged dragon immediately got to the point. If I'm not wrong, most of your strength is being restrained by the heaven-devouring hound skeleton because you're afraid of being devoured. Nonsense. The old man's eyes flickered as he berated. Dark Emperor, don't worry. With the four of us working together, we might not be able to fight against a peak manifestation realm martial artist, but we can fight against a peak late manifestation realm martial artist. The silver-winged dragon said, This old man's strength is only at peak late manifestation realm. As long as we hold him back until Ningyu arrives, it'll be his death. No problem. The Dark Emperor's eyes glowed brightly, and he was the first to attack, blasting at the skeletal old man. Go to hell. Looking at the approaching Dark Emperor, the old man waved his sleeves and a cold ray of light shot out. Bang! The facts proved that the Dark Emperor alone could not stop the skeleton old man. The cold ray of light landed on the Dark Emperor's chest, and the powerful force pushed the Dark Emperor back several feet. Chapter 828. Want to eat meat? Chapter 828. Eat meat whoosh. After stabilizing his body, the Dark Monarch charged out once more without saying a word. Humph! You're courting death. The skeletal old man harumphed coldly when he saw the Dark Emperor charging at him again. He bent his legs slightly and dashed forward at lightning speed. The skeletal old man's speed was several times faster than the Dark Emperor's. The Dark Emperor had only taken 2 to 3 steps when the skeletal old man arrived before him. Bang! The skeletal old man's fist brought along a violent gust of wind and landed on the Dark Emperor's chest for the second time. Even though the Dark Emperor's strength had increased after devouring Jin Juelong and the others, he was still unable to fight back against the skeletal old man. A crisp sound was heard, and the Dark Emperor fell to the ground like a kite with its string cut. Go! Seeing the Dark Emperor's defeat, the silver-winged dragon roared and pounced at the skeletal old man. Roar! The twin horns beast roared into the sky and followed the silver-winged dragon to attack the skeletal old man. Woof woof! As for Furball, it came to the Dark Emperor's side and forced a few drops of blood essence into the Dark Emperor's mouth. In order for the Dark Emperor to recover to his peak, Furball fed the Dark Emperor his blood essence for the second time. The Dark Emperor did not disappoint Furball. The Dark Emperor quickly used a skill to refine the blood essence. Not long later, the Dark Emperor's aura climbed from the bottom to the peak. Bang! Bang! However, just as the Emperor of the Dark Emperor recovered to his peak state, 2 clear sounds came from beside his ears. Hee hee, you guys are quite strong. Unfortunately, you guys are destined to meet your end. The skeletal old man defeated the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast without much effort. Furthermore, it was a crushing defeat. How can you unleash the strength of a half-step honorable? Aren't you afraid of the backlash? The silver-winged dragon wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, Backlash? What's that? The skeletal old man raised his brows and asked in confusion, I'm a half-step honorable. Why can't I unleash the strength of a half-step honorable? As he spoke, the skeletal old man's face darkened. The skeleton old man changed the topic and said sinisterly, The 2 of you don't have high aptitudes. It's not easy for you to cultivate to the early stage of Blessed Realm. How about this? If you're willing to become my mount, I can spare your lives. Pooh! The 2-horned beast spat out a mouthful of saliva and said, You want us to become your mounts? Dream on. I don't care. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The skeletal old man shrugged and waved his hand. In an instant 2 cold lights appeared in the air and attacked the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast. Poochie! The Dark Emperor had already recovered to his peak state. Naturally, he would not allow the heavily injured silver-winged dragon and twin-horned beast to be killed. Therefore, the Dark Emperor rose from the ground and helped the silver-winged dragon and the others to block the 2 cold beams from the skeletal old man. The result was obvious. The Dark Emperor spat out a large mouthful of blood. His aura, which had just recovered to its peak, once again fell to rock bottom. Actually, before I refine the skeleton of the sky-devouring hound, I should refine the 4 little fellows first. As he spoke, the skeletal old man's body gradually became illusory. In the next instant, the skeletal old man appeared beside the Dark Emperor. Clearly, the skeletal old man's first target was the Dark Emperor. Roar, roar, roar. Seeing that he was about to be killed, the Dark Emperor roared into the sky and his body gradually grew bigger. Swoosh. Seeing the Dark Emperor grow bigger, the skeletal old man instantly retreated and looked at the enlarged Dark Emperor in shock. Then, the skeletal old man revealed a look of ecstasy. It's actually the purple gold sky-devouring hound. Ha ha, the heavens are really helping me. The skeletal old man laughed maniacally and said, I've searched bitterly for many years but could not find a living purple gold sky-devouring hound. Who would have thought that I would meet one at the last moment? In order to refine the giant skeleton as soon as possible, the skeletal old man flipped through many ancient books of the corpse sect. In the process of flipping through the books, the skeletal old man saw a type of secret technique. By pouring the blood of the purple gold sky-devouring hound on the giant skeleton, it could stimulate the energy in the deepest part of the skeleton. As long as he refined the energy, he could even skip Grade 1 Human Supreme and directly advance to Grade 2 Human Supreme. This was a huge temptation. Otherwise, he would have refined the giant skeleton long ago. Why would he wait until now? To him, it was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance. Swoosh. The skeletal old man did not want to waste any time. The purple gold sky-devouring hound was extremely rare, and he was afraid that if he delayed any longer, something might happen. Therefore, the skeletal old man's figure burst out and appeared on the back of the Dark Emperor in an instant. Pa pa pa. The skeletal old man rode on the back of the Dark Emperor and slapped his hands on the Dark Emperor's body. Crisp sounds rang out one after another. Each of the skeletal old man's palms contained violent energy. After a few palms, the skin on the Dark Emperor's back was torn. I can't waste it. Seeing the Dark Emperor's blood dripping continuously, the skeletal old man quickly took out a jade bottle and stored the blood. He did not want to waste a single drop. Right, why don't I stuff this sky-devouring hound into the skeleton? Suddenly, the skeletal old man seemed to have thought of something. He clenched his right fist and punched the Dark Emperor's back. Voila! After being punched by the skeletal old man, the Dark Emperor's body gradually shrunk and returned to its normal appearance. Go in. The skeletal old man kicked the Dark Emperor's back and pushed the Dark Emperor into the giant skeleton. Seal. In order to prevent the Dark Emperor from escaping from the skeleton, the skeletal old man even used a secret technique to seal the skeleton, causing the Dark Emperor to enjoy the pain within the skeleton. Although he had kicked the Dark Emperor into the skeletal old man was not idle. As he refined the skeleton, he walked towards the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast. As for Furball, it was automatically ignored by the skeletal old man. Fortunately, when Furball was transferring the blood essence to the Dark Emperor, the skeletal old man did not notice it. Otherwise, with the skeletal old man's character, he would definitely devour and refine Furball first. What should we do? Looking at the skeletal old man that was approaching it, the twin-horned beast said in a low voice. How would I know what to do? Let's just wait and see. The silver-winged dragon's eyes were filled with determination as it said in a low voice, Let's fight it out with him. At most, we'll just self-destruct. All right, self-destruct it is. The twin-horned beast gritted its teeth and its body gradually expanded. Trying to self-destruct in front of me? Seeing the twin-horned beast's actions, the skeletal old man raised his brows and said calmly, Without my permission, don't talk about self-destructing, you won't even have the chance to kill yourself. As he spoke, the skeletal old man unleashed his half-step honorable aura and pressed it down on the twin-horned beast. Being pressured by the skeletal old man's aura, the twin-horned beast's swollen body slowly returned to its normal state. I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. The skeletal old man approached the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast and said. Chapter 829. Transaction, damn it. Feeling the energy in their bodies being suppressed by the skeleton old man, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast cursed in unison. Their current situation could only be described as being in a state where they could neither live nor die. It couldn't be any better. His life and death were completely under the control of the skeleton old man. This feeling was very uncomfortable, as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. You guys are quite large, so I can't eat them all by myself. The rest can be shared by the corpse sect cultivators. That way, you guys will be able to display your greatest potential. Old Skeleton said sinisterly. Rumble. However, before the skeletal old man could start killing the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast, the door of the hall was blasted open by a huge force. The sudden change caused the skeleton old man's expression to change slightly, and he hurriedly turned around to look. At the entrance of the hall, a thin martial artist stood there. At first glance, the thin martial artist looked ordinary. He was only half a step into the manifestation realm. However, upon closer inspection, the skeletal old man's eyes were filled with shock. Genius, a peerless genius. The skeleton old man was a half-step supreme being. His eyesight was still not bad. From the violent aura emanating from Ning Yu's body, he could determine that Ning Yu was a peerless genius. Moreover, he was not the kind of genius that only appeared once in 100 years, but a genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Even in the corpse sect, there were only a few cultivators that could compare to this young cultivator. Ning Yu. Seeing the thin figure at the entrance of the hall, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast cried out in unison. Xiao. Furball rose from the ground, turning into a blur as he flew to Ning Yu's side. Woof woof. At the same time, Furball extended his claws and pointed at the huge skeleton behind the skeletal old man, roaring incessantly. You mean the Dark Emperor is inside? After spending so much time with Furball, Ning Yu could already understand Furball's gestures. Ka. After learning that the Dark Emperor was trapped in the skeleton, Ning Yu's face darkened completely, and his knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. Kid, are you angry? Very angry? You even want to kill me? After a brief moment of shock, the skeletal old man smiled faintly and said, A half-step manifestation realm brat wants to kill a half-step honorable realm expert. I'm afraid that in the entire Great Xia Kingdom, no, even in the entire Sky Demon region, only you would have the guts to do so. The Sky Demon area is huge. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Ning Yu took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Actually, there was no need for the skeletal old man to say it himself, as Ning Yu had already determined that his cultivation was at the half-step honorable realm. To be able to force the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast to the point where they couldn't even self-destruct, his cultivation had to be at least half a step into the venerable realm. An ordinary martial artist at the peak of the creation realm would definitely not be able to do it. Moreover, the Dark Emperor had a very bad temper. He was a heaven-devouring dog that would rather die than submit. The fact that the Dark Sovereign was trapped in the skeleton was more than enough to prove that the strength of the elder before him was truly heaven-defying. Courage is one aspect, and strength is another. The skeletal old man crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ning Yu with interest. He said, How about joining me? I can give you a lot of resources to help you advance to the creation realm quickly. Let me ask you a question. Ning Yu did not answer the skeletal old man's question. Instead, he asked, Has venerable corpse e'en advanced to the heavenly supreme realm? Hearing this, the skeletal old man's heart skipped a beat. He had no choice but to re-evaluate the half-step into the manifestation realm martial artist before him. Not to mention the sky demon area, even within the corpse Yin sect, there were very few people who knew venerable corpse Yin's true cultivation. One must know that the corpse Yin sect had announced to the public that venerable corpse Yin had just advanced to the Earth Supreme Realm. Who exactly are you? The skeletal old man secretly became cautious as he berated. At this point, the skeletal old man had already determined that Ning Yu was pretending to be weak. Although Ning Yu's cultivation was only at the half-step into the manifestation realm, the skeletal old man was almost certain that Ning Yu's cultivation would not be lower than the pinnacle of the manifestation realm. So you're pretending to be weak. No wonder you're so fearless when you see me. The skeletal old man secretly became cautious, always on guard against Ning Yu's sudden attack. Are you blind? Didn't the silver-winged dragon and the others say that I'm Ning Yu? Ning Yu shrugged and walked toward the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast. Not long after, Ning Yu arrived beside the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast. Ning Yu placed his palms on the back of the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast and began to treat their injuries. The skeletal old man coldly watched all of this and did not stop him. I'd like to see what you're up to, the skeletal old man said coldly. Actually, what the skeletal old man did not know was that Ning Yu was even more anxious than him. The Dark Emperor was trapped in the skeleton, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The dead spirit chi in the red fiend's sword had yet to be completely refined, and the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast were severely injured. It was truly a case of misfortune. Fortunately, the skeletal old man was intimidated, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Red Fiend, hurry up and refine the dead spirit chi. The Dark Emperor might not be able to hold on for long. As Ning Yu treated the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast, he secretly instructed the Red Fiend. I know. The Dark Emperor was trapped, and the Red Fiend was also very anxious. However, Yen Fiend's dead spirit chi was too difficult to refine, and the Red Fiend did not have any good ideas. According to the Red Fiend's judgment, Ning Yu still needed to wait for another hour before he could use the Red Fiend's sword. In other words, he needed an hour. Whether the Dark Emperor could hold on for another hour depended on the Dark Emperor's luck. Fortunately, the skeletal old man stopped refining the skeleton. Otherwise, the Dark Emperor would definitely not be able to hold on until now. Time was ticking away. About half an hour had passed. Ning Yu, your cultivation level is only at the half-step manifestation realm. You are not pretending to be weak. When Ning Yu retracted his palm from the back of the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast, the skeletal old man realized something was amiss. Ning Yu's cultivation level was indeed at the half-step manifestation realm, and he was not pretending to be weak. You guys retreat to the side first. Leave this old man to me. Ning Yu first said to the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast, then turned and walked towards the skeletal old man. Ning Yu walked very slowly. A journey that could have been completed in a minute took 5 minutes for Ning Yu. Stalling for time. Ning Yu was completely stalling for time. As long as he could stall for time until the Red Fiend refined the dead spirit chi, Ning Yu would have a chance of turning the tables. Of course, this chance was so low that it was negligible. After all, Ning Yu could only fight against a warrior at the peak of the manifestation realm at his current stage. If he were to face a half-step supremacy realm warrior, only death awaited him. 25 minutes left. Ning Yu secretly calculated the time in his heart, but on the surface he said calmly, "Skeletal old man, how about we make a deal?" Do you think you are worthy of making a deal with me? The skeletal old man snorted coldly. He immediately rose from the ground and charged towards Ning Yu. Don't be anxious. Let me finish. Ning Yu waved his hand, indicating for the skeletal old man to calm down. Chapter 830. Chapter 830. Refining Energy. What? Soul tree? You have a soul tree? Hearing Ningyu's words, the old man could no longer remain calm. He unleashed his aura and pressed towards Ningyu. In a battle between experts, the strength of one's soul power was the key to victory. And the soul tree was the best treasure to strengthen one's soul power. With the soul tree, the old man could even raise his soul power to another level in a short period of time. How could the old man not be surprised? What a joke! Do you think I would bring such an important treasure with me? Forcefully withstanding the old man's half-step honorable aura, Ningyu smiled faintly and said, "As long as you make a deal with me, I will tell you the exact location of the soul tree." "Speak, what deal?" the old man said in a deep voice. "Very simple. As long as you remove the seal on the giant skeleton behind you, I will tell you where the soul tree is." Ningyu pointed to the giant skeleton behind the old man and said, "That's impossible." The old man rejected immediately. Remove the seal on the heaven-devouring hound skeleton? What a joke! One must know that the old man could successfully advance to the honorable realm because of the Dark Emperor in the skeleton. Once the seal was removed and the Dark Emperor escaped, it would be a thankless task. Then there's no other way. Ningyu said as he counted the time, "There's still 20 minutes. As long as he dragged on for another 20 minutes, the Red Devil would be able to refine Yen Mo's dead spiritual energy. By then, although he still wouldn't be able to fight against the old man, it would be much better than the current situation. There are always more solutions than problems." Suddenly, the old man's lips curled into an arc swoosh. In the next instant, the old man suddenly rushed out and appeared in front of Ningyu in a split second. Buzz buzz. The old man's fist emitted a violent wave of energy as he punched towards Ningyu's chest. The old man used 80% of his strength in this punch. It was obvious that the old man didn't want to kill Ningyu. The skeletal old man's plan was very simple. Severely injure Ningyu and then use a secret technique to force him to reveal the location of the soul tree. The skeletal old man would not kill Ningyu before forcing him to reveal the exact location of the soul tree. Life and death palm. Facing the incoming fist, Ningyu's complexion changed slightly. All the essence in his sea of consciousness rushed out and wrapped around his palm. "Pa!" A crisp voice resounded in the hall. "Shio!" Immediately after, Silver-Winged Dragon and the others saw a figure rapidly retreating until he hit the wall of the hall. Only then was he able to stabilize himself. Swallowing the sweetness in his throat, Ningyu maintained his calm expression and said, "In the past, I thought that a half-step supreme being was very powerful, but, at this point," Ningyu paused for a moment before he changed the topic and continued. "You've given me a whole new understanding of half-step supremacy realm martial artists. It turns out that not all half-step supremacy realm martial artists are very powerful. At the very least, you couldn't even defeat a half-step manifestation realm martial artist like me." "Presumptuous!" the old man bellowed and dashed out again. Actually, seeing that Ningyu looked fine on the surface, the old man was actually very shocked. Although he was shocked, the old man wouldn't waste any more time. However, the old man had always believed that as long as he used 100% of his strength, he would definitely be able to kill Ningyu in an instant. Therefore, this time, the old man didn't use 100% of his strength, but 90% of his strength. "Damn it! Red Devil, how much longer do you need?" Seeing the old man attacking him for the second time, Ningyu cursed and quickly contacted the Red Devil. Done. In the Red Devil sword, the Red Devil refined the last bit of dead spiritual energy and integrated it into the Red Devil sword, appearing in front of Ningyu. "Alright." Ningyu grabbed the Red Devil sword and slashed down a sword wave. Swoosh. A huge sword wave separated from the Red Devil sword and collided with the old man's fist. Sha sha. The punch of the old man with 90% of his strength was not just for show. Although the sword wave that Ningyu slashed out was also very powerful, it could only be defeated by the old man's fist. In midair, the old man dispersed the sword wave with a punch and charged straight at Ningyu. Bang! The old man's fist pierced through the void and hit Ningyu's chest with no way to avoid it. The huge force that came from his chest directly blasted Ningyu several feet away. However, this time, Ningyu was hit below the skeleton of the Sky Devourer Hound. "I thought you were powerful. Turns out you're just a waxhead with a silver spear. Impressive, but useless." After defeating Ningyu with ease, the old man curled his lips and said indifferently. Below the skeleton of the Sky Devourer Hound, Ningyu couldn't take it anymore and spat out a mouthful of blood. "Skeleton." Ningyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and wanted to say something, but his voice stopped abruptly. That was because a voice rang in Ningyu's mind. "Ningyu, find a way to enter the skeleton." "Dark Emperor!" Ningyu could easily tell that the person who spoke was the Dark Emperor. "Are you okay inside? Cut the crap. Quickly find a way to enter the skeleton. This skeleton belongs to the purple gold Sky Devourer Hound. The old man trapped me inside, but I didn't expect to benefit from it and gain its recognition." The Dark Emperor said anxiously, "I'm refining the skeleton's energy with all my might. I need you to come in and protect me." "No problem." Ningyu gritted his teeth and made a prompt decision. He took out his golden elixir from his consciousness and slammed it against the skeleton of the Sky Devourer Hound in front of the old man. Trying to break the seal with a suicidal attack? Seeing Ningyu's action, the old man was stunned for a moment before he sneered. "Since you want to break the seal so badly, I'll fulfill your wish and let you accompany that black dog." Rumble! The old man waved his wrist, and the seal around the skeleton was instantly broken. At the critical moment when the seal was broken, Ningyu seized the opportunity and entered the skeleton. "You guys go in too." The old man moved quickly and arrived beside the silver-winged dragon and the rest in an instant. He kicked the silver-winged dragon, the twin horns beast and Hairy Ball into the huge skeleton. Seal. The moment Hairy Ball and the rest entered the skeleton, the old man sealed the skeleton again. "Ha ha ha, after refining all of you, I can easily advance to Grade 1 Human Supreme, or even Grade 2. The old man laughed and sat down cross-legged. He started refining with his secret technique. Bang bang bang! When the old man tried to refine the skeleton, the silver-winged dragon and the rest fell out of the skeleton. Seeing the scene before him, the silver-winged dragon's mouth was agape and his face was filled with disbelief. Not far away, the Dark Emperor sat cross-legged in the center. Above his head, there was a huge ball of energy that was constantly being transferred into the Dark Emperor's body. Beside the Dark Emperor, Ningyu was also enjoying the energy that was being emitted by the ball of energy. "Don't just stand there, hurry up and come over." Chapter 831. To be driven to desperation, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were frozen for a full 3 seconds before they reacted. After coming to their senses, the two of them flew to Ningyu's side without stopping. Woof woof! As for Furball, it let out 2 roars and jumped onto the back of the Dark Emperor. Hua! Hua! Furball was also a purple-gold devouring hound. The ball of energy above the Dark Monarch's head sensed the little fellow and split into 2, one entering the Dark Monarch's body and the other entering Furball's body. Seeing that Furball was trying to snatch the energy from him, the Dark Emperor's face darkened, but there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, there was a lot of energy in the energy ball, and the Dark Emperor could not possibly finish devouring it. Rather than letting it all go to waste, it was better to let Furball enjoy it as well. This skeleton of the Sky Devouring Hound was at least a high-level human sovereign when it was alive. Ningyu looked at the ball of energy above the Dark Emperor's head and muttered, "The Dark Emperor and Furball definitely won't be able to refine all the energy in such a short amount of time. They'll probably store it in their bodies." The energy within the energy ball was extremely terrifying. The energy absorbed by Ningyu, the silver-winged dragon, and the twin-horned beast was only a portion of the energy that leaked out. Even so, Ningyu still felt very satisfied with the energy that leaked out. Although he could not raise his cultivation to the creation realm, if he continued to absorb and refine it, it would not be a problem for his cultivation to increase by 30 to 40%. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were much luckier. Their cultivation was at the early stage of the manifestation realm. If nothing went wrong, they would definitely be able to break through to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. Time was ticking away. Inside the hall, the skeletal old man kept executing his secret technique. In fact, in order to refine the heaven-devouring hound's skeleton earlier, the skeletal old man injected the primordial qi in his sea of consciousness into the skeleton. Not only was the yuan qi that the skeleton old man had injected into the skeleton useless, it had even become food for the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast. Bang! About half an hour later, a muffled sound came from the silver-winged dragon's body. Boom! Then, a terrifying aura flashed past. What happened? In the hall, the skeletal old man sensed the terrifying aura rushing out from the skeleton. He raised his eyebrows in shock. It should be about to refine them. If I'm not wrong, that muffled sound should be caused by the explosion of the purple-gold sky-devouring hound. F***ck. Bang! Before the skeletal old man could finish his mumbling, he couldn't help but curse. This was because another terrifying aura rose from the skeleton of the sky-devouring hound. 2 terrifying auras were emitted consecutively, causing the skeleton geezer to be cautious. He hurriedly sent a wisp of his spiritual perception into the skeleton of the sky-devouring hound. Inside the gigantic skeleton, Ningyu watched as the ball of energy above the Dark Emperor's head became smaller and smaller, and the worry in his heart also lessened. However, when the ball of energy had shrunk to half its original size, a terrifying spiritual undulation suddenly appeared beside the Dark Emperor. Open! At this critical moment, Ningyu let out a low cry and hurriedly took out the scroll from his storage ring. Get in! Then, Ningyu made a series of hand seals and instantly blasted out several palm prints. Several palm prints struck out in unison, catching the skeletal old man by surprise. The skeletal old man suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His originally skinny cheeks were now protruding out of his bones, making him look extremely hideous. Who can tell me what's going on? The skeletal old man let out a roar, his face filled with anger. I don't believe it. The skeletal old man let out a low cry and immediately sent a wisp of his spiritual perception into the skeleton. The result was obvious. Not long later, the skeletal old man lost his connection with his spiritual perception. Something's wrong, something's wrong. After 2 consecutive failures, the skeletal old man became cautious. The skeletal old man decided not to act recklessly anymore. Instead, he carefully sent out a wisp of his spiritual perception and tried to make contact with the gigantic skeleton. To be honest, the skeletal old man felt extremely aggrieved and even wanted to kill someone. Before Ningyu and the others appeared, everything was fine. After a period of time, he would naturally be able to refine the skeleton and advance to the honorable realm. Not only did the appearance of Ningyu and the others not allow him to refine the sky-devouring hound's skeleton earlier, but it also caused him to suffer heavy injuries. The vitality consumed from refining the skeleton, coupled with the loss of spiritual perception, caused the skeletal old man's battle prowess to drop by quite a few levels. If this dragged on, the skeletal old man's battle prowess might not even be comparable to an ordinary peak manifestation realm martial artist. I'll go in too. After the 3rd attempt failed, the skeletal old man gritted his teeth and turned into an afterimage, entering the skeleton in an instant. Buzz buzz. Looking at the skeletal old man in front of him, Ningyu's expression changed slightly. He stood up with a swoosh and shielded the Dark Emperor and Furball behind him. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast had advanced to the middle manifestation realm, and their strength had a qualitative increase. They could even fight against a peak manifestation realm martial artist. Therefore, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast stood on the left and right of Ningyu. My energy! That's my energy! You guys are courting death. The skeletal old man saw the energy ball above the Dark Emperor's head the moment he appeared. Furthermore, the skeletal old man let out a furious roar. To the skeletal old man, that energy originally belonged to him. Now that it was being occupied by two dogs, how could he not be angry? As the saying goes, the wrath of a supremacy realm martial artist could destroy the world. Although the skeletal old man was only half a step into supremacy realm, the impact of his wrath was not weak. Crack crack! The skeletal old man clenched his fists and cracking sounds could be heard. Swoosh! In the next moment, the skeletal old man charged out, his fists pulsating with dense energy waves. We have to stop him no matter what! Looking at the approaching skeletal old man, Ningyu let out a low bellow and was the first to fight with the skeletal old man. After devouring and refining the energy emitted by the energy ball, Ningyu's strength had increased by quite a bit. In addition, the skeletal old man's strength had decreased by quite a few levels. Under such circumstances, Ningyu was actually on par with the skeletal old man. This is infuriating. The skeletal old man was furious. He had never expected that in just slightly more than half an hour, Ningyu's strength would have such a qualitative leap. Roar! Roar! Looking at the battle between Ningyu and the skeletal old man, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast did not stay idle. They attacked from the side. Although the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were not a match for the skeletal old man, when they worked together, they could still force the skeletal old man to retreat continuously. You guys forced me to do this. The skeletal old man forced Ningyu and the other two to retreat before taking a deep breath. His eyes gradually turned from black to blood red. Next year today will be the anniversary of your death. After his eyes turned completely blood red, the skeletal old man said sinisterly, For offending me, the skeletal old man, I will refine all of you into corpse puppets. Bang! Bang! Chapter 832. Shi Ming. A crisp sound suddenly rang out, causing everyone, including the skeletal old man and even Ningyu, to look over. Who? On the other side, the Dark Emperor and Furball slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Their tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. On the surface, the cultivation of the Dark Emperor and Furball did not increase significantly. They were still at the half-step manifestation realm. However, the strength of the Dark Emperor and Furball had increased qualitatively. Apart from the Dark Emperor and Furball themselves, no one knew how much terrifying energy was in their bodies. In short, a large portion of the energy produced by the gigantic skeleton of the sky-devouring hound was lying dormant in their bodies, slowly being refined. Once all of this energy was refined by them, their cultivation would soar like a rocket. By conservative estimates, the Dark Emperor and Furball would both advance to the manifestation intermediate stage, or even the manifestation advanced stage. Humph! After devouring so much energy, your cultivation is still at the half-step manifestation realm. What trash! Sensing the aura emitted by the Dark Emperor and Furball, the skeletal old man snorted coldly and dashed out. The skeletal old man was very fast. In order to reach the Dark Emperor and Furball as soon as possible, he did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. Not good! While Ningyu's attention was still on the Dark Emperor, the skeletal old man swept past him and dashed straight for the Dark Emperor. Solitaire! At the crucial moment, Ningyu waved the red demon sword and slashed out a shocking sword wave. Chi-chi! The sword wave was not slow either. As it rubbed against the air, it produced a sizzling sound. However, no matter how fast the sword wave was, it was still half a beat too slow. Before the sword wave could catch up to the skeletal old man, the skeletal old man's fists had already landed on the Dark Emperor and Furball. Pa! Two muffled sounds rang out. Immediately, the skeletal old man retreated, as if he had seen something terrifying. Puff! The direction in which the skeletal old man retreated happened to be the direction where Solitaire came from. Without a doubt, the skeletal old man was stabbed in the back by Solitaire, and his aura instantly dropped from the half-step supremacy realm to the peak of the creation realm. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The skeleton's energy is mine. How could you guys devour it? The skeletal old man spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes were filled with confusion. Nothing is impossible. Ningyu kept the red demon's sword and instantly flew to the Dark Emperor's side. He stared at the skeletal old man and said, "The Dark Emperor is a purple-gold heaven-devouring hound. It is only natural that he would be able to devour the skeleton's energy. On the other hand, you're not a heaven-devouring hound. You're delusional enough to want to devour the energy within the skeleton. You're lucky that you didn't get killed on the spot by the backlash, yet you're delusional enough to want to refine all of us. Humph. If it wasn't for the fact that my combat power wasn't at its peak, I would have killed all of you long ago, and there wouldn't have been so many things after that." The skeletal old man snorted coldly and said sinisterly, "As the saying goes, the mountains will never change. In the future we will have." However, before the skeletal old man could finish his sentence, he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped from the peak of the creation realm to the late stage of the creation realm. "Dark Emperor, I'll leave the skeletal old man to you. Let's go out first," Ningyu first said to the Dark Emperor before his figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast followed closely behind Ningyu, tearing through the void and disappearing. Kacha! 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 Not long after Ningyu left the skeleton of the heaven-devouring hound, the skeleton let out a kacha-kacha sound. A moment later, the huge skeleton turned into nothingness and completely disappeared from the world. The Dark Emperor and Furball appeared at the location where the skeleton was. "My God, Furball, your cultivation has actually advanced to the early stage of the creation realm?" What shocked Ningyu was that the Dark Emperor and Furball's cultivation had both advanced to the early stage of the creation realm. After devouring so much of the skeleton's energy, the Dark Emperor and Furball did not advance. He did not expect that after devouring the skeletal old man, they would actually break through their limits and advance to the early stage of the creation realm. "Ningyu, we need to go into seclusion and refine the enormous energy in our bodies." The Dark Emperor leaped to Ningyu's side and said, "How long do you need to go into seclusion?" Ningyu asked. "About a day or so." The Dark Emperor replied, "If everything goes well, we will be able to advance to the mid-stage of the creation realm in a day." "If it doesn't go well?" Ningyu asked again. "If it doesn't go well, it will take about 3 days." The Dark Emperor explained, "The energy in the heaven-devouring hound skeleton is simply too enormous. If I don't refine it, I'm afraid I won't be able to suppress it. It might not be a good time to go into seclusion now." Ningyu frowned and said, "This place is not safe. Let's leave now and go into seclusion when we reach a safe place." Since the skeletal old man was in the hall, it meant that this hall was the territory of the corpse insect. Who knew if there were other experts of the corpse insect? If the Dark Emperor was in seclusion here and the experts of the corpse insect came over, wouldn't it be like catching a turtle in a jar? One had to know that once one went into seclusion, they could not be disturbed. Otherwise, they would be seriously injured, and at worst, they would die from the backlash. "Hurry up and leave, we can't suppress it for long," the Dark Emperor said in a deep voice. "We can't suppress it for long, so there's no need to." Just as the Dark Emperor's voice fell, a faint laugh came from outside the hall. Immediately, a group of 8 cultivators appeared at the entrance of the hall. The leader was an old man at the peak of the creation realm. At this moment, a smile appeared on the old man's face as he said indifferently, "It just so happens that I'm about to advance to the half-step sovereign realm. After refining you guys, I can naturally advance to the half-step sovereign realm." "You want to refine us?" Feeling the aura emitted by the old man, Ningyu raised his brows and said coldly, "The skeletal old man's cultivation was half-step sovereign realm, and even he was killed by us. Do you think your strength is comparable to the skeletal old man?" "The skeletal old man was killed by you guys?" Hearing Ningyu's words, the old man's expression changed greatly. When he entered the hall, the old man was a little confused as to why he did not see the skeletal old man. Now that he heard Ningyu mention it, the old man released his perception to look for the skeletal old man. This search caused the old man's expression to change greatly, revealing a terrified expression. The skeletal old man's cultivation was half-step sovereign realm, and he was refining the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog in the hall. If the skeletal old man was killed by this kid, wouldn't that mean that the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog was also taken away? "Where's the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog?" the old man scolded in a deep voice. Compared to the skeletal old man being killed, the old man was more worried about the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog. This time, the headquarters of the corpse sect had sent a total of 2 cultivators that surpassed the creation realm to the Great Xia Kingdom. The first was the skeletal old man, who was half-step sovereign realm. He was tasked to refine the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog in hopes of advancing to the sovereign realm. The other was a second-grade sovereign, the venerable corpse dragon. The reason why the venerable corpse dragon was willing to give the skeletal old man the energy of the heaven-devouring dog was because the latter had given him the materials that he had prepared over the years, and even promised to give him the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog. With the materials and the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog, the venerable corpse dragon could even refine a second-grade sovereign realm puppet. Chapter 833. Teleportation Formation. Brat, hand over the heaven-devouring dog's skeleton, and I can leave your corpses intact. Shi Ming's expression was very ugly, and he said in a low voice, "Otherwise, I'll refine all of you into corpse puppets. Although I don't know where you get your courage from, I can be sure that you're even more arrogant than me." Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, "I've already said that the skeleton old man has already been killed by us, but you still insist on threatening us. Looks like you're very confident that you're stronger than the half-step venerable realm old man. Let's not talk about whether or not the skeleton old man was killed by you. Even if the skeleton old man was killed by you, it was a stroke of luck." Shi Ming snorted coldly and said, "If I'm not wrong, you must have killed the skeleton old man with a sneak attack when he was at his weakest. Killing the skeleton old man at his peak was as easy as taking something out of his pocket." Shi Ming continued. It seemed like everything was under Shi Ming's control. "Ningyu, why waste your breath with them? Quickly kill them while Furball and I can still suppress the energy in our bodies." Seeing that Ningyu wanted to say something, the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground and charged out. Swoosh! The Dark Emperor's speed was very fast, and he arrived beside Shi Ming in the blink of an eye. After advancing to the early stage manifestation realm, the Dark Emperor's combat strength had a qualitative increase. "You're courting death." Looking at the sharp claws coming towards his face, Shi Ming growled and raised his arm, swinging it fiercely at the Dark Emperor. Rip! However, what happened next was clearly out of Shi Ming's expectations. The Dark Emperor's front claws streaked across Shi Ming's arm, tearing his clothes apart. His nails even left a bloody mark on Shi Ming's arm. "You've completely infuriated me." Looking at the bloody mark on his arm, Shi Ming took a deep breath, turned around, and said to the 7 martial artists behind him, "Go! Kill without mercy. Whoosh. Hearing the order, the 7 martial artists moved in unison, and their target was the Dark Emperor. Among the 7 martial artists that Shi Ming brought, the weakest was at the early-stage manifestation realm, while the strongest was at the peak late-stage manifestation realm. If you want to kill the Dark Emperor, you have to ask us first. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast would naturally not watch as the Dark Emperor was besieged. They were able to advance to the middle stage of the blessed state because of the energy in the sky-devouring hound's skeleton. Now that they had blocked 7 corpse insect experts for the Dark Emperor, there was naturally no problem. Rumble. The silver-winged dragon and the two-horned beast were fighting against the 7 peak experts of the corpse sect. Below the hall, Furball had also joined the battle, fighting Corpse Ming alongside the Dark Emperor. As for Ningyu, he stood where he was and did not make a move. Buzz. Should we make a move? Hong Mo appeared beside Ningyu. He stared at the battlefield and asked hesitantly. Not at the moment. Ningyu shook his head and said, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast have no problem dealing with the 7 corpse sect martial artists. The Dark Emperor and Furball can also contend with Shi Ming for a while. But the Dark Emperor and Furball won't be able to hold on for long. The energy in their bodies is already on the verge of exploding. In a few minutes it will definitely explode. Hong Mo said anxiously. Let's wait. Ning Yu's face was expressionless. He closed his eyes as if all this had nothing to do with him. This. Hong Mo stomped his foot and could only choose to wait. Hong Mo believed that Ning Yu must have his reasons for doing this. Otherwise, with Ning Yu's personality, he would definitely be the first to make a move. Why wait until now? Boom. Boom. Time passed minute by minute. Inside the hall, spells were flying everywhere on the 2 battlefields. Although the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast had the absolute advantage, they could not kill the 7 corpse insect martial artists in a short period of time. The situation on the Dark Emperor and Furball's side was not optimistic. As the battle progressed, the Dark Emperor and Furball became more and more disadvantaged. There were even a few times when they were almost hit by Shi Ming. In fact, this was not surprising. The Dark Emperor and Furball had to suppress the violent energy in their bodies while fighting against Shi Ming. Danger was inevitable. Crack. The battle lasted for another 10 seconds. When the 11th second arrived, a cracking sound rang out in the area. Swish. Immediately afterward, an illusory figure streaked across the void and arrived before Ningyu in the blink of an eye. A fist that carried a violent yuan qi gale smashed towards Ningyu's face. Although the fist was illusory, it was extremely powerful. It forced the air on both sides to scatter. I've been waiting for you. Ningyu abruptly opened his eyes. With the red demon sword in his hand, he slashed down with a sword gleam. Chi. The sword ray collided with the illusory fist, and a sizzling sound rang out. The illusory fist dispersed. The sudden change caused Shi Ming and the others to instantly stop fighting in the distance, and all of them looked towards the entrance of the hall. Crash! At the entrance of the hall, a group of 9 martial artists slowly appeared. Pa! Pa! The age of the 9 martial artists was not old. The oldest was the leader, but he was only in his 20s. At this moment, the leader moved and arrived at the center of the hall. He clapped his hands and said, "How lively! I wonder if my arrival has disturbed everyone? Who are you?" Shi Ming shouted in a deep voice. Gu Yuan. Ningyu answered Shi Ming's question on behalf of Gu Yuan. The reason why Ningyu knew Gu Yuan was because he had seen Gu Yuan's illusory body back in the Great Xia Kingdom's imperial family. Unfortunately, Ningyu had killed Gu Yuan's illusory body back then, and there was a feud between them from then on. Haha, I originally only wanted to find Ningyu. Who would have thought that I would encounter a martial artist from the corpse insect here? Gu Yuan wasn't surprised that Ningyu knew him. He faintly smiled and said, Just nice. Let's settle these two matters together. Gu Yuan, don't be so arrogant. Shi Ming secretly compared the three forces, and suddenly discovered that he was the weakest. At this time, Shi Ming was definitely thinking of stabilizing Gu Yuan and Ning Yu first before waiting for an opportunity to escape. Shi Ming's eyes flickered, and he said in a deep voice, I have already informed the Venerable Corpse Dragon. I believe it won't be long before the Venerable Corpse Dragon will rush over here. Venerable Corpse Dragon? Gu Yuan's brows raised and said indifferently, the Venerable Corpse Dragon is in the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range, and the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range isn't near here. Even if the Venerable Corpse Dragon rushes over now, it will take a few hours to arrive. Ah! Shi Ming raised his head to the sky and laughed wildly. He said coldly, the ignorant are fearless. Honestly speaking, the rumors outside are not wrong. This hall has a small-scale teleportation array that leads straight to the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range. Hearing that, not only did Gu Yuan's heart skip a beat, even Ning Yu had a grave expression. If it was really as Shi Ming said, and there was a teleportation array here, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once the Venerable Corpse Dragon rushed over, everyone would die. Chapter 834. Trapped. At this moment, Ning Yu and Gu Yuan had the same idea. Kill Shi Ming first, then find the teleportation array and destroy it. This was the only way to prevent the Venerable Corpse Dragon from rushing over. Go, all of you, go! Stop them! Shi Ming didn't expect that his casual words would become the fuse of a great battle. There was indeed a teleportation array in the main hall, but it was a one-way teleportation array. It could only be used to teleport to the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range, not the other way around. As soon as Shi Ming finished speaking, none of the 7 corpse sect martial artists behind him had any intention of making a move. What a joke! Gu Yuan was a half-step supreme being, while they were only in the manifestation realm. The two of them were not even on the same level. Gu Yuan might only need 10% of his strength to kill them. It was not the style of the people of the corpse sect to step forward even though they knew they were going to die. Damn it! You guys go and stop Ning Yu. Leave Gu Yuan to me. Seeing that no one was making a move, Shi Ming cursed and immediately charged at Gu Yuan. Whoosh! This time, the 7 cultivators of the Corpse sect no longer held back and attacked Ning Yu one after another. Ning Yu was only a half-step manifestation realm martial artist. They were confident in facing Ning Yu. Do you think I'm easy to bully? In midair, Ning Yu flipped his wrist and the red demon sword appeared in his hand. Solitaire! Along with Ning Yu's low shout, an earth-shattering sword wave was formed. Hiss! Feeling the violent aura contained in the sword wave, even Gu Yuan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This won't do. I must find a chance to give Ning Yu a fatal blow. Gu Yuan secretly made up his mind to give up on attacking Shi Ming and attack Ning Yu as soon as there was an opportunity. Originally, Gu Yuan thought that Shi Ming would be difficult to deal with. After all, Shi Ming's cultivation was much higher than Ning Yu's. Looking at it now, the hardest martial artist to deal with was Ning Yu and not Shi Ming. Just from the sword wave that Ning Yu had unleashed, Gu Yuan could tell that Ning Yu's strength was at least on par with a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. Poochie! The sword wave did not disappoint Gu Yuan. In front of so many people, the sword wave killed 3 early-stage Fate Realm warriors of the Corpse sect. Again, after killing 3 Corpse sect martial artists with one strike, Ning Yu did not stop attacking. Instead, he poured the origin chi in his sea of knowledge into the red demon sword and slashed out several more sword wave. Swish, 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 several sword waves formed a sword wave formation in the air, surrounding the remaining 4 Corpse sect experts. Shi Ming, think of something quickly. The Corpse sect cultivators who were trapped in the sword ripple formation all cried out, hoping to receive help from Shi Ming. However, Shi Ming was like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river, unable to protect himself. Gu Yuan's cultivation was at the half-step supremacy realm. How could Shi Ming have the time to fight with Gu Yuan? I have to speed up as well. Gu Yuan turned around and looked at the four corpse sect martial artists trapped in the sword ripple formation. He took a deep breath and unleashed the aura of a half-step supremacy realm, pressing down on Shi Ming. Go! Shi Ming was the eldest disciple of the venerable corpse dragon, so he had a lot of trump cards. Gu Yuan's half-step supremacy realm aura did not pose any threat to him. On the contrary, Shi Ming took out a crystal ball from his pocket and tossed it to Gu Yuan. Crack! As soon as the crystal ball flew out, Shi Ming's eyes narrowed, and the crystal ball exploded. Hiss! After the crystal ball exploded, an aura no weaker than a half-step supremacy realm suddenly rushed out and pressed down on Gu Yuan. Gu Yuan sucked in a breath of cold air when he felt such a terrifying aura. What goes around comes around, and it was someone else's turn this year. Today, I'll let you experience my true strength. Gu Yuan's eyes turned cold. He formed seals with his hands and instantly sent out countless palm prints. Kacha, kacha, kacha. However, the palm prints that Gu Yuan sent out did not last long. They were quickly crushed by the terrifying aura. Gu Yuan did not care about the palm prints shattering. Instead, he took advantage of the gap and arrived before Shi Ming. A purple gas appeared on Gu Yuan's fist, and he suddenly punched at Shi Ming's heart. Bang! Puff! A crisp sound accompanied by the sound of blood spurting resounded in the hall. You! Shi Ming lowered his head and looked at the purple-wrapped fist where his heart was. He opened his mouth and pointed at Gu Yuan. He wanted to say something, but his voice came to a screeching halt, and he collapsed to the ground. Rumble! After Shi Ming was killed, on the other side, the sword ripple formation that Ningyu executed killed the remaining four corpse sect martial artists. Hee, looks like you're not weak either. Gu Yuan was not surprised that Ningyu had killed 7 cultivators from the corpse Yin sect. After all, in Gu Yuan's opinion, as long as one had the strength of a peak manifestation realm martial artist, they could easily kill the 7 corpse sect martial artists. Same here. Ningyu said indifferently, in your opinion, should we fight now or find the teleportation formation first? I'll let you live a little longer. With a wave of his hand, Gu Yuan rose from the ground and shot towards the depths of the hall. Song Yi and the others glared fiercely at Ningyu before following Gu Yuan and disappearing. Ningyu, the Dark Emperor and Furball are about to lose control. Not long after Gu Yuan and the others left, Hong Mo shouted. Hearing this, Ningyu hurriedly turned to look at the Dark Emperor and Furball. This caused Ningyu's heart to tremble. The Dark Emperor and Furball were in a very dangerous situation. If they did not refine the energy in their bodies, it was very likely that they would explode and die. Enter the painting first and refine the energy inside. At this point, Ningyu couldn't care less and said in a deep voice, Swish, swish. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor and Furball turned into a blur and passed through the storage ring, entering the painting. Ningyu, the painting is an unstable space. If you let the Dark Emperor and Furball refine the energy inside, I'm afraid. Hong Mo said hesitantly. I know, but the current situation does not allow me to think too much. Ningyu interrupted the Red Devil and said, if the painting doesn't work, then the only way is to abandon the storage ring. I'll enter the storage ring with the silver-winged dragon and the others first. Hopefully we can stabilize the painting. Hong Mo pondered for a moment before his figure flashed and entered the storage ring. As for the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast, they turned into blurs and entered the storage ring as well. I must find the teleportation formation before Gu Yuan. Ningyu put away the storage ring and waved his hands repeatedly, tearing through the void and disappearing. The reason why Gu Yuan did not fight with Ningyu here was because he did not have absolute confidence that he could kill Ningyu in a short period of time. Secondly, it was because of the teleportation formation that Corpse Ming had mentioned. Only by finding the teleportation formation and destroying it would Gu Yuan be able to deal with Ningyu without worry. Otherwise, when the venerable corpse dragon rushed over, everyone would die. Swish. From the outside, the palace in the depths of solitary forest did not look too big. However, only after entering the palace would one know how terrifying it was. The interior of the palace was intricate and complicated. There were even many origin chi formations and soul formations. The slightest carelessness would cause one to be trapped in the formation and unable to move. Chapter 835. Chapter 835. A 10-foot-tall man, damn it! If I knew there were so many array formations here, I would have killed Ningyu in the main hall, Gu Yuan said coldly as he tried to crack the array formation. Gu Yuan regretted not attacking Ningyu earlier. Now, they were trapped in the array formation. Unless they used their trump cards, they would not be able to leave in a short time. In fact, the killing power produced by the array formation had directly turned 4-peak Yin-Yang Realm 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion geniuses into minced meat. Their deaths were extremely cruel. If I knew, you wouldn't have come," Song Yi muttered. "Humph! What are you muttering about?" Gu Yuan's ears were sharp and he could naturally hear Song Yi's muttering. However, Gu Yuan chose to ignore it. He said in a low voice, "Inject your origin energy into my body. I want to quickly break the array formation." Yes. Song Yi and the others had no choice. Who asked Gu Yuan to be much higher than them in both status and strength. Buzz. Buzz. Song Yi and the others did not dare to delay. They hurriedly released the origin energy in their sea of consciousness and poured it into Gu Yuan's body. "Break for me." A moment later, Gu Yuan let out a low roar and punched out. While Gu Yuan was trying to break the array formation, Ningyu encountered a big problem. Sha sha. In front of Ningyu was an open area. In this open area, there were dozens of corpses lying around. From the aura emitted by these corpses, Ningyu could determine that they were at least at the good fortune realm when they were alive. The corpses were not scary. What was scary was that behind the corpses, there was a 10-foot-tall martial artist with dull eyes. Corpse puppet. Ningyu's face darkened. The martial artist with dull eyes was a corpse puppet. Moreover, its cultivation had reached the terrifying peak good fortune realm. It was not that Ningyu had not encountered peak good fortune realm corpse puppets before. However, this peak good fortune realm corpse puppet was the strongest among all the corpse puppets Ningyu had encountered. In fact, this corpse puppet's combat strength was comparable to an ordinary half-step supreme realm martial artist. Damn it! Ningyu cursed under his breath as he slowly retreated. Ningyu wanted to leave this area as soon as possible before the corpse puppet noticed him. Roar! However, Ningyu's plan obviously did not succeed. He had just taken 2 or 3 steps back when he was stunned by an earth-shattering roar. F***CK. The most terrifying thing was that the deafening roar that shocked Ningyu did not come from the corpse puppet at the peak of blessed realm in front of him. Instead, it came from another corpse puppet in another direction. 2 corpse puppets. Moreover, both of them were corpse puppets at the peak of the blessed realm. Even Ningyu had a hard time dealing with 1 corpse puppet at the peak of the blessed realm, let alone 2 of them. No, I have to find a way to leave. Ningyu's eyes turned as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. Actually, it was no wonder that Ningyu did not want to fight with these 2 corpse puppets. This was because Ningyu had to pay attention to the Dark Emperor and Furball at all times. He was afraid that a battle would cause the painting scroll to become unstable. If the Dark Emperor and Furball were affected, it would be a loss. Roar roar! Just as Ningyu was pondering, the 2 corpse puppets at the peak of the blessed realm moved simultaneously. One after another, the two corpse puppets rushed toward Ningyu. One for each of us. At the critical moment, the Red Fiend darted out of the storage ring and targeted the corpse puppet in front of him. I can only hold on for a minute at most. If you can't kill the corpse puppet after a minute, leave first. Hearing the Red Fiend's resolute words, Ningyu gritted his teeth and forced a drop of blood essence into the Red Fiend's sword. He immediately held the Red Fiend's sword and fought with the corpse puppet behind him. Rumble. After exchanging blows, Ningyu realized that he had misjudged the strength of the corpse puppet. Conservatively speaking, this corpse puppet's combat strength was even stronger than the skeletal old man's. As expected, what happened next proved that the corpse puppet's combat strength was very strong. One move. With just one move, the Red Fiend was hit in the chest by the corpse puppet and was sent flying dozens of feet away. After spitting out blood, the Red Fiend's aura rapidly decreased, dropping to freezing point in the blink of an eye. Roar roar. After repelling the Red Fiend with one move, the corpse puppet did not continue to attack. Instead, it turned around and attacked Ningyu. Looking at the two corpse puppets that were rushing toward him, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. It was already very difficult for him to fight one corpse puppet, let alone two. Moreover, the painting was becoming more and more unstable. The energy in the Dark Emperor and Furball's bodies was also becoming more and more violent. They could break the painting at any time. The pressure from the two corpse puppets, as well as the pressure from the Dark Emperor and Furball in the painting, caused Ningyu to feel a headache. I'm just trying to save a dead horse. Flower Bud, it's all up to you. At this critical moment, Ningyu could not care less. He hid the flower bud in his sleeve and threw a punch, which collided with the fist of one of the corpse puppets. Swoosh! When the two fists collided, the flower bud in Ningyu's sleeve suddenly shot out and crashed into the corpse puppet's heart at an astonishing speed. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. The flower bud did not disappoint Ningyu. It instantly burrowed into the corpse puppet's body. However, Ningyu might have overlooked something. There was not one corpse puppet, but two. The second corpse puppet had already appeared beside Ningyu and raised its fist, aiming for Ningyu's head. Ding! At this critical moment, it was fortunate that Ningyu had raised the Red Fiend's sword. Otherwise, the second corpse puppet's punch alone would have been enough to kill him. Ka ka ka! After using the Red Fiend's sword to block the fatal blow, Ningyu hurriedly retreated. When Ningyu retreated, the first corpse puppet had already turned from a 3-meter-tall burly man into a pile of bones. The flower bud is so powerful? To be honest, the transformation of the first corpse puppet gave Ningyu a surreal feeling. After the flower bud bloomed its 8th petal, it actually possessed such powerful combat power? One had to know that the corpse puppet's cultivation level was at the peak of the manifestation realm, but it did not last more than a few seconds against the flower bud. Buzz buzz. After killing a corpse puppet, the flower bud changed again. This change made Ningyu speechless. The flower bud, which originally had 8 petals, actually had 2 petals fused together, turning it into 7 petals. First, it bloomed one by one. Next, it won't fuse together one by one, right? Ningyu mumbled with his mouth slightly open. Swoosh! Just when Ningyu was in disbelief, the flower bud sprang out again and burrowed into the body of the second corpse puppet. Crack! History was astonishingly similar. The second corpse puppet turned into a pile of bones, and the flower bud turned from the original 7 petals to 6. Just as the second corpse puppet was refined by the flower bud, in a secret chamber in the Corpse Dragon Mountain range, an old man suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. How dare you refine my corpse puppet? The old man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said fiercely, Could it be the skeleton elder? After a while, the old man shook his head and denied himself. It shouldn't be the skeleton elder. Even if he devoured all the energy in the heaven-devouring hound's skeleton, he could only advance to the first-grade human supreme. He wouldn't dare to refine my corpse puppet. Looks like I have to make a trip to Dugu Forest personally. Chapter 836. A strange teleportation formation. The tree of world is indeed heaven-defying. To think that a flower bud blooming on a small branch would be so powerful. Ningyu mumbled to himself as he looked at the two piles of bones on the ground. Swoosh! Right at this moment, the flower bud suddenly sped up and returned to Ningyu's sleeve to hibernate. Is there still danger? The flower bud's sudden action caused Ningyu to frown slightly, and he secretly became cautious. Rumble! Just as Ningyu was being cautious, the ground under his feet suddenly shook. Seeing this, Ningyu hurriedly retreated. Ningyu had only taken a few steps back when the ground in front of him caved in. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, an altar slowly rose from the ground. What is this teleportation formation? Ningyu's pupils shrank when he saw the altar. He had a look of disbelief on his face. Ningyu could not be blamed for having such a thought. The altar in front of him was very strange. 7 round tables. The altar was made up of a total of 7 round tables. From the bottom to the top, they became smaller and smaller. The round table at the top was only the size of a fist. Crack, crack, crack. All of a sudden, the round tables started to crack from top to bottom. The debris from the explosion of the 6 round tables were all piled up at the edge of the last round table. From the outside, it looked like a cylindrical object. Crack! Just as everything seemed to be fixed, a hole the size of a human suddenly appeared on one side of the cylindrical object. At the same time, 3 large words appeared on the surface of the cylindrical object. Teleportation formation. Ningyu's face darkened. Who made this teleportation formation? It was so strange. Let's make sure there's no danger first. After a moment of silence, Ningyu released his soul power and carefully approached the teleportation formation. Whoosh! However, as soon as Ningyu's soul power touched the edge of the teleportation formation, it was devoured by a powerful devouring force. SSS. Such a change had truly exceeded Ningyu's expectations, and it caused him to gasp. A teleportation array that could devour soul power. As a Sky Supreme in his previous life, Ningyu had come into contact with many teleportation arrays. However, he had seen very few teleportation arrays that could devour soul power. The transmission array in front of them could devour soul force. This meant that the martial artist who built this transmission array had an extremely powerful soul force. My soul force is at the peak of level 6. Since this transmitting formation can devour my soul force, the warrior who built this transmitting formation must have at least reached the peak of level 8. Ningyu took a deep breath and fell into deep thought. The current situation was very tricky. If they couldn't break the devouring power around the teleportation array, it would be very difficult to destroy it. Suddenly, Ningyu's arm began to shake violently. That's right, the flower bud. It must have a way to break the devouring power around the teleportation formation. Ningyu's face lit up with joy. He flipped his wrist and was about to throw the flower bud out of his sleeve. However, before Ningyu could throw the flower bud, he quickly separated a bit of soul power and controlled the flower bud to endure. Hee, Ningyu, why didn't you inform me immediately when you found the teleportation array? In the next moment, a faint laugh rang out in the area. Then, Guyuan gradually appeared in Ningyu's vision. A moment later, Guyuan stood in front of Ningyu and asked, "Are you planning to use this teleportation array to leave?" Guyuan, if I remember correctly, when we parted ways in the main hall, you had 8 martial artists with you. Looking at the only middle-stage manifestation realm martial artist behind Guyuan, Ningyu's lips curled up and he said calmly, "Why is there only one now? Don't tell me you dismissed them because you were afraid of danger?" Guyuan's face instantly darkened when he heard that. Ningyu's sarcasm made him very angry. The reason why only Tsang-yi was left behind was because they had encountered many array formations along the way. Almost every time they encountered an array formation, they would lose one or two genius martial artists. To be honest, it was a miracle that Tsang-yi was still alive after arriving here. Cut the crap. Why didn't you destroy this transportation formation? Gu Yuan coldly said, suppressing the anger in his heart. I just found it and you came over. How am I going to destroy it? Ningyu shrugged and said, if you have the ability, you can destroy it yourself. With that, Ningyu stepped aside for Gu Yuan. Humph. Gu Yuan coldly snorted, standing in place without moving. As a peerless genius of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion's 9th branch, Gu Yuan had never been afraid of anything. However, what he had experienced in the hall made Gu Yuan doubt his life. Gu Yuan, you have to think carefully. If there is no accident, this transportation formation will lead to the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range. Ningyu calmly said, there is a venerable corpse dragon in the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range. Once the venerable corpse dragon appears from the transportation formation, both you and I will die. Ningyu, stop pretending. Who knows if you were the one who set up this teleportation array? Gu Yuan coldly said. It doesn't matter to me. At worst, when the venerable corpse dragon comes, we can all perish together. Ningyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and lightly said. Tsang-yi. Seeing Ningyu's appearance, Gu Yuan turned and scolded, you go and test the transportation formation. This, hearing Gu Yuan's words, Tsang-yi felt as if he had been slapped by a stone dog. Fuck, you're afraid, but you want me to go. However, Tsang-yi's status in the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion was much lower than Gu Yuan's. He had no choice but to slowly step forward. Hurry! If the venerable corpse dragon comes, we'll be in danger. Seeing Tsang-yi's tortoise-like speed, Gu Yuan coldly snorted and then kicked Tsang-yi's butt. If you don't want to die, hurry up and go. Tsang-yi's speed was originally very slow, but after Gu Yuan's kick, he directly came into close contact with the transportation formation. Swish! Suddenly, a huge beam of light shot out from the transportation formation, wrapping around Tsang-yi and disappearing in the blink of an eye. The sudden change caused Gu Yuan and even Ningyu's mouths to hang slightly open, abnormally dumbfounded. Gulp! After a while, Gu Yuan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. With a flick of his wrist, he suddenly blasted out a huge fist light. The fist light was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it struck the transportation formation. Boom boom! A huge rumbling sound rang out as the transportation formation violently shook. Not good. The transportation formation is about to explode. Ningyu's expression changed drastically as he hastily retreated. Damn it! Gu Yuan did not expect his transportation formation to be so weak that it was about to shatter from a single punch. Rumble! Ningyu and Gu Yuan had just retreated a dozen meters when the transportation formation suddenly exploded. Crash! At this critical moment, a flower bud flew out from Ningyu's sleeve. Its petals suddenly grew larger, wrapping around Ningyu. Chapter 837. Half of their strength. Chapter 837. What's going on? The explosion of the transmission array caused the martial artists who had just entered the hall to reveal looks of horror. Not good. Something exploded, everyone, run. Among the martial artists, there were martial artists with powerful soul perception that changed their expressions. Without much time to think, they immediately used their secret techniques to escape. However, the speed at which these martial artists retreated was clearly slower by half a beat. Rumble! A huge shockwave came from the depths of the hall. Like thunder from the 9 heavens, it struck everyone in the blink of an eye. My eyes! If I had known, I wouldn't have come. Dugu Forest is indeed a burial ground. I didn't think that our 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion's 8th branch would fall here. Nonsense. Our seventh branch also couldn't escape this calamity. All sorts of screams and shouts resounded in the hall. Some martial artists who didn't have time to escape the hall were blasted into mincemeat, dying on the spot. But even those martial artists who left the hall didn't have a good ending. They were either injured or crippled. At this moment, the entire hall was purgatory on earth. Poochie! At the same time that the transmission array exploded, an old man in a mountain range suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it! They actually destroyed the transmission array. The old man was furious to the extreme. But the old man couldn't do anything. From where he was to Dugu Forest, it would take at least a few hours. Since the transmission array was destroyed, it meant that the enemy would definitely leave Dugu Forest. After a moment of silence, the old man turned around and dashed towards the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. Wait for me to recover from my injuries, then I'll go investigate. The old man's figure gradually blurred and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Sha. In the depths of Dugu Forest, the huge destructive power of the transmission array's explosion directly destroyed the hall. In front of the hall, there were dozens of corpses lying haphazardly. On the other side, there were 7 or 8 martial artists who were still breathing. They were lying under a large tree, panting heavily. Damn it! I didn't think that our 8th branch would suffer such heavy losses. Under the towering tree, a young martial artist in his 20s said in a cold voice, "When I find Gu Yuan, I'll definitely ask him." "Why are you asking?" Beside the young cultivator, a cultivator dressed in blue said coldly, "It's all because of your men. They said that Gu Yuan found a treasure in the depths of Dugu Forest. Otherwise, why would our 7th branch come here?" "Su Shun, what is the meaning of this? I didn't force you to come here. How can you blame me for this?" Ho Lei was furious. Although it was a message from his informant, he did not force Su Xuanxiang to follow him. Moreover, Su Shun hadn't said anything along the way. Who would have thought that now that they were in danger, Su Shun would start to ramble? If not for the fact that his strength was slightly lower than Su Shun's, Ho Lei would have even killed Su Shun on the spot. Ho Lei, stop pretending. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. Su Shun was also very angry and said, "Let's not talk about anything else for now. Right now, you and I can use 50% of our strength. In my opinion, we should join hands and enter the ruins of the main hall. No matter what, we must find Gu Yuan. This matter is not reliable. Who knows if Gu Yuan is injured?" Ho Lei frowned. "Who cares?" Su Shun said coldly. Cough cough. However, before Su Shun's words fell, a dry cough sounded out from the ruins of the main hall. The sudden dry cough caused Su Shun's voice to come to a screeching halt. He turned his head to look at the familiar figure slowly walking out from the ruins. Gu Yuan. Su Shun's eyes were fixed on the martial artist in the ruins as he said in a low voice, "Gu Yuan has been seriously injured." Besides Su Shun, Ho Lei was stunned for a moment before saying, "If I'm not wrong, Gu Yuan's true combat strength should be less than 50%. What do we do, should we?" After Gu Yuan appeared, the originally noisy Su Shun and Ho Lei instantly became good friends. As Su Shun spoke, his right hand gently slid across his neck. His meaning was self-evident. "Wait a little longer." Ho Lei lowered his voice and said, "Although Gu Yuan's strength is less than 50%, we also only have 50% of our strength left. If we fight head-on like this, it will be very disadvantageous for us." "You mean to say that we should not reveal our killing intent first?" Su Shun asked doubtfully. "That's right," Ho Lei said. In the ruins, Gu Yuan looked at the people from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion in the distance and his face lit up with joy. But very quickly, Gu Yuan's pupils shrank as he cursed inwardly. In the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, he had always been at odds with Su Shun and Ho Lei. Now that his strength was not at its peak, wouldn't it be very dangerous for him to encounter Su Shun and Ho Lei? The might of the teleportation array's explosion is indeed not to be underestimated. Just as Gu Yuan was secretly being cautious, a voice was transmitted to his ear. Gu Yuan's expression changed greatly when he heard this familiar voice, and he hurriedly turned his head. This glance caused Gu Yuan to be dumbfounded as his pupils rapidly shrank. Why you? How is this possible? Gu Yuan stretched out his hand and pointed at the familiar figure in front of him. He said incredulously, "You are only at the half-step manifestation stage. How could you be unscathed from the teleportation array's explosion?" "How could I be unscathed?" Ningyu pointed at his own nose and indifferently said, "This matter is something you will never know for the rest of your life." Su Shun, Ho Lei. Gu Yuan knew that with his current battle strength, he was definitely not Ningyu's match. Therefore, Gu Yuan loudly shouted, "This is Ningyu. I advise you to put away your thoughts and deal with him together with me. Otherwise, everyone will die." Su Shun and Ho Lei's expressions turned ugly when Gu Yuan saw through their inner thoughts. "Don't just stand there. Hurry up and come over." Seeing Su Shun and Ho Lei standing there without moving, Gu Yuan was very angry. He said, "Don't think that Ningyu is only at the half-step manifestation stage. Let me tell you the truth. In the Great Hall, Ningyu killed a half-step Supreme Being corpse puppet with his bare hands." In order to attract Su Shun and Ho Lei's attention, Gu Yuan even exaggerated. What? As expected, Gu Yuan's exaggeration had a very good effect. Su Shun and Ho Lei could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. A half-step manifestation stage martial artist killed a half-step Supreme Being barehanded? If such a peerless genius was allowed to grow to the half-step Supreme Being stage, just how terrifying would he be? The Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion's motto was that any peerless genius that did not join them deserved to die. Therefore, Su Shun and Ho Lei temporarily cast aside their previous enmity. Their figures flashed and they arrived beside Gu Yuan. Three half-step Supreme Being martial artists with only about 50% of their strength left. Looking at the three martial artists in front of him, Ningyu's expression was neither happy nor sad. With a flick of his sleeve, he took out the red demon sword. "Next, let me see just how powerful the peerless geniuses of the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion are." Chapter 838. Putting on an Act. Chapter 838 Inch Go. Gu Yuan knew how terrifying Ningyu was, so he did not hold back and unleashed his full strength. He was the first to charge at Ningyu. "Be careful." Su Shun and Ho Lei exchanged a glance when they saw Gu Yuan risking his life like this, and they flew out in unison. Rumble. Above the ruins, Ningyu held the red devil sword and fought 1 against 3. Not long after the battle started, Ningyu was at a disadvantage. Although Gu Yuan and the other two could only unleash about 50% of their strength, they were martial artists half a step into the supremacy realm. 50% of their strength was enough to kill an ordinary peak manifestation realm martial artist. At his peak, Ningyu could only fight 1 against 3 evenly. He could not gain the slightest advantage. Moreover, Ningyu had to use his Yuan Qi to suppress the painting. The Dark Emperor and Furball in the painting were almost able to completely refine the energy of the heaven-devouring dog's skeleton. Although Ningyu did not know how the Dark Emperor and Furball could refine the energy so quickly, Ningyu was sure that as long as he could hold on until the Dark Emperor and Furball came out of seclusion, all his problems would be solved. And in the current situation, even though he was at a disadvantage, it was not too big of a problem for Ningyu to hold on for an hour. "No, I have to think of a way." The more the battle went on, the more shocked Gu Yuan became. The fact that Ningyu could fight 1 against 3 and only be at a disadvantage shocked Gu Yuan to the extreme. Su Shun, Ho Lei, stop Ningyu first. "I'm going to use my big move." Gu Yuan forced Ningyu back with one move and said in a low voice, "No. We can't hold on. Without any hesitation, Su Shun rejected Gu Yuan's idea. What a joke. Let the two of them fight Ningyu? If something were to happen to him, wouldn't Gu Yuan benefit from it? Even if someone were to fight, it would be the two of them, not Gu Yuan. Gu Yuan, that's a good idea. Why don't you block Ningyu while Ho Lei and I use our ultimate moves? Su Shun retreated from the battlefield in the blink of an eye and flew to the other side. As for Ho Lei, he followed closely behind Su Shun and retreated from the battlefield. Pucci. Su Shun and Ho Lei had just withdrawn from the battlefield when Ningyu seized the opportunity to stab Gu Yuan in the chest. Crazily spurting a mouthful of blood, Gu Yuan fiercely said, "I can only hold on for 3 minutes. If you don't make a move after 3 minutes, then bear the consequences." Gu Yuan was not an arrogant and conceited person. He knew what he was capable of. If he were to fight against Ningyu with 50% of his strength, he would only be able to last 3 minutes at most. If Ningyu had any powerful trump cards, he might not even last 3 minutes before being killed. Don't worry, 3 minutes is enough for us to use our trump cards. Su Shun and Ho Lei answered in unison. Gu Yuan, the three of you can firmly suppress me if you join forces. But you alone? He, after a faint smile, Ningyu injected the essence in his sea of consciousness into the red fiend's sword and slashed out with a startling sword wave. Whoosh! A huge sword wave formed in the air and rushed towards Gu Yuan at an astonishing speed. The sword wave was very fast. As it cut through the void, it emitted a chi-chi sound. Block for me. Gu Yuan knew the power of the sword wave. He used all his strength to send out a essence wave in an attempt to block the huge sword wave coming at him. Crack! There was no doubt about the result. Gu Yuan's essence wave was dispersed the moment it came into contact with the sword wave. At the same time, the sword wave was still blasting straight at Gu Yuan. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. Gu Yuan was hit by the sword wave and his body was pushed back several feet. Pucci! Gu Yuan spurted out a mouthful of blood and his aura dropped again. Just now, Gu Yuan still had about 50% of his battle power. After this disturbance, he was left with less than 20% of his battle power. Ningyu did not even need to use his full strength to kill Gu Yuan, who still had about 20% of his battle power. Kill him! Ningyu did not waste this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He stomped his feet on the ground, and his body instantly darted out. The red fiend's sword in his hand cut through the void and stabbed straight at Gu Yuan's heart. The previous sword had stabbed Gu Yuan's chest, but this one was stabbing at Gu Yuan's heart. If Gu Yuan was stabbed, he would most likely be done for. Not good! Before the red fiend's sword could stab Gu Yuan, Ningyu's body suddenly stopped, and his face revealed a look of horror. Damn it! Ningyu rapidly retreated until he was far away from Gu Yuan. Then, he sat down cross-legged and frantically injected the essence in his sea of consciousness into the painting. Ningyu's action made Gu Yuan somewhat dumbfounded. Feeling Ningyu's aura weakening, Gu Yuan even felt that it was unreal. What was going on? The situation just now was already very clear. As long as Ningyu's sword stabbed down, he would die on the spot. Could he have encountered some danger? Gu Yuan frowned slightly. He wanted to step forward, but he did not dare to act rashly. If Ningyu was playing any tricks, the consequences would be unthinkable. Su Shun, Ho Lei, have you prepared your trump cards? Since he did not dare to step forward, Gu Yuan turned around and said to Su Shun and the others, "This is a rare opportunity. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Do you want to cut the crap? If you have the ability, go up yourself." Su Shun waved his hand and said coldly, "If you don't have the ability, then stay where you are and don't move. Don't hinder us from using our trump cards. Trash will always be trash. If we leave now, won't you be killed beyond recognition?" Ho Lei echoed, "We saved your life today. You must know how to repay our kindness." Toi. Gratitude? When I survive this calamity, it will be the time of your deaths, Gu Yuan said to himself. As for Ningyu, he had no time to care about Su Shun and the others bickering. In the painting, the Dark Emperor and Furball were on the verge of breaking through. What the hell? There's so much energy in the heaven-devouring dog's skeleton, but it's not enough for you to advance to the intermediate stage at the same time? Ningyu was very speechless, extremely speechless. In the painting, the Dark Emperor and Furball were only a little bit away from breaking through, but they were unable to do so. After some investigation, Ningyu finally found the problem. It was not that the Dark Emperor and Furball's energy refinement speed was not fast enough, but that there was not enough energy in their bodies to reach the peak. Let me help you. Ningyu gritted his teeth and injected all the vital energy in his body into the painting. At the same time, he threw all the vital crystals, pills, and medicinal herbs in his storage ring into the painting. The Dark Emperor and Furball did not disappoint Ningyu. Bam! Bam! After refining such a large amount of energy, a dull sound rang out from their bodies. After the dull sound, the Dark Emperor and Furball suddenly opened their eyes. One could vaguely see traces of terrifying light bursting forth from the Dark Emperor and Furball's eyes. Manifestation Intermediate Stage. Sensing the aura fluctuations from the Dark Emperor and Furball, Ningyu slowly exhaled, and his nervous heart relaxed slightly. PFFF. However, Ningyu had only just relaxed when he spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body swayed unsteadily. Chapter 839. Done. In the distance, Gu Yuan roared with laughter when he saw Ningyu's body on the verge of collapse. Ningyu, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Gu Yuan was momentarily overwhelmed by joy. He charged forward in the blink of an eye, intending to deal a fatal blow to Ningyu. However, Gu Yuan had clearly forgotten that he was currently unable to bring out his peak fighting strength. He only possessed around 20% of his original fighting strength. Red Devil, I'll leave it to you. Ningyu closed his eyes and muttered to himself as he looked at Gu Yuan, who was rushing over. Haha, you still dare to put on an act even when death is at hand. I will now let you know what is called cruelty. Ningyu's actions once again caused the corners of Gu Yuan's mouth to rise into an arc, as if victory was already in his grasp. However, Gu Yuan suddenly stopped before he could reach Ningyu's side. Gu Yuan turned around and looked at the red figure that had unknowingly appeared behind him. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but instead spat out a large mouthful of dark red blood. Whoosh! Red Devil slowly withdrew the Red Devil sword from Gu Yuan's back and indifferently said, "Sometimes, those who do not know their own limits will die earlier. All of you deserve to die," Gu Yuan coldly said as he retreated. "I do not know if we deserve to die, but I am very clear that this day next year is destined to be the anniversary of your death." As his voice faded, Red Devil's figure gradually turned illusory. In the blink of an eye, Red Devil appeared in front of Gu Yuan. His right hand gripped the Red Devil sword and directly pierced Gu Yuan's heart. Puff! Gu Yuan was not in peak condition to begin with. His eyes rolled back when the Red Devil sword pierced his heart, and he died on the spot before he could even say anything. What? Gu Yuan's sudden death caused Ho Lei's and Su Shun's expressions to change drastically. Su Shun and Ho Lei were both shocked, extremely shocked. One must know that Ningyu had not even made a move. How could a weak red-clothed cultivator so easily kill Gu Yuan? What should we do? Su Shun asked in a low voice. What else can we do? Right now, Ningyu is not in peak condition. We'll take one each, Ho Lei said solemnly. All right, I'll deal with Ningyu, you deal with the man in red. Su Shun gritted his teeth and was the first to charge out. His target was Ningyu. As for Ho Lei, he charged towards the red fiend. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, just as Ho Lei and Su Shun took a few steps forward, two figures sprang out from Ningyu's body. These two figures, one white and one black, were extremely fast. Dark Emperor, Fur Ball. The two figures that emerged from Ningyu's body were the Dark Sovereign and Fur Ball. After refining the energy from the heaven-devouring hound's skeleton, and Ningyu had raised his hand at the critical moment, the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball were both at the middle stage of the blessed realm. A heaven-swallowing hound at the intermediate stage of the creation realm, and a purple-gold heaven-swallowing hound at that. One could imagine how terrifying its combat power was. At their peak, Su Shun and Ho Lei could contend with the Dark Sovereign and Fur Ball. They only had 50% of their strength left. Bang! Bang! Two crisp sounds rang out consecutively. Soon after, two figures fell to the ground like kites with their strings cut. Dog! Su Shun and Ho Lei stood up with great difficulty. Yenemo stared at the Dark Sovereign and Fur Ball in the air and exclaimed, "Humph! You're the dog. You should call me Emperor." The Dark Sovereign coldly snorted and tore through space, appearing in front of Su Shun like a bolt of lightning. Crack! The Dark Sovereign's movements were very fast, so fast that Su Shun's neck was snapped before he could react. Not good! Seeing Su Shun's neck snapped, Ho Lei hurriedly chose to flee. However, even Su Shun could not react to the Dark Sovereign's attack, much less Ho Lei. This was because Fur Ball was slightly stronger than the Dark Sovereign. Puff! Fur Ball's attack was very sharp, directly turning into a toxic dragon drill and piercing through Ho Lei's body. Ningyu, just you wait to taste the wrath of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion. Before he died, Ho Lei used all his strength to shout, "Everyone from the 8th and 7th branches of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion, hurry up and leave. Issue the Nine-Furnace Killing Order, we swear to hunt down Ningyu." Boom. In fact, there was no need for Ho Lei to say anything. Under the towering tree, the remaining geniuses of the 7th and 8th branches of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion scattered in all directions. Dark Sovereign, Fur Ball, Red Devil, you know what to do. Ningyu did not chase after them, but lightly said, "Swish, swish, swish." The Dark Sovereign and the others knew that they could not let the people of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion escape at this time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Three figures chased after the fleeing geniuses of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion. After the Dark Sovereign and the others left, Ningyu took out the flower bud. Swish! Just as Ningyu took out the flower bud, it turned into a shadow and drilled into his body. Gotcha! Not long after devouring Guyuan, the flower bud left and drilled into Ho Lei's body. After a while, the flower bud flew out and drilled into Su Shun's body. After a few more minutes, the flower bud slowly flew out. 4 petals. Seeing the changes in the flower bud, Ningyu frowned and muttered. At first, the flower bud had 8 petals. After devouring 2 peak manifestation realm corpse puppets, it became 6 petals. Now, after devouring 3 half-step Supreme Being geniuses of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion, the 6 petals became 4. It was getting harder and harder. At this rate, if he wanted to turn the 4 petals into 1, he would have to devour at least several Supreme Beings. Forget it. Even if the flower bud wants to devour Earth or Sky Supreme Beings, I will help it find them. Ningyu shook his head and controlled the flower bud to enter his chest. The flower bud had helped him greatly when the teleportation array exploded. Ningyu wasn't someone who didn't know how to repay kindness. Since the flower bud needed energy and devoured martial artists, Ningyu would definitely find them for it. Of course, the martial artists that Ningyu found were all heinous people, or rather, people who were bent on killing him. Ningyu was a good citizen. He wouldn't do such heinous things. TSK. In the past, when it devoured energy, it would give me back a little. Now, it's all gone to you. Ningyu released his perception slightly and started to circulate the spirit transformation technique to absorb the Yuan Qi in the air. Ever since the flower bud's petals turned from 8 to 6, Ningyu realized that the holy qi that the flower bud absorbed from the void was completely consumed by itself. It couldn't even produce Xingyang pills. Xingyang pills were good stuff. Without them, it would be a huge loss to Ningyu. At the very least, it was impossible for Ningyu to recover to his peak state in a short period of time. Sha. Just as Ningyu was slowly recovering, the Dark Emperor and Furball flew over from afar. At this moment, the Dark Emperor's face was glowing with excitement. Ningyu, those small shrimps weren't even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. I killed them in a few moves. Chapter 840. Trouble in the Capital. Chapter 840. Battle Pow. Ningyu slapped the Dark Emperor's head and pretended to be angry. Stop pretending. You're only a middle manifestation realm cultivator, and your overall strength is only comparable to a peak manifestation realm cultivator. If you encounter a half-step honorable realm cultivator, you'll only end up with a grudge. Don't make fun of me. The Dark Emperor revealed a displeased expression. Although I'm only a middle manifestation realm cultivator, I still have some energy left in my body. As long as I refine all the energy in my body, I won't have to fear a half-step honorable realm cultivator. I can't believe it. Ningyu couldn't help cursing and rewarded the Dark Emperor with a chestnut. You still have energy in your body, so why do you need my help? Ningyu regretted not helping the Dark Emperor and Harry Ball if he knew this would happen. In the end, the Dark Emperor and Harry Ball advanced to the middle manifestation realm, while he was still in a weakened state. Woof woof. Harry Ball barked at Ningyu, as if saying that it wasn't what he thought. Forget it, I have two choices now. Ningyu waved his hand, signaling Harry Ball to calm down. First, continue to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. Second, return to the capital. Harry Ball tilted its head, thinking about something. As for the Dark Emperor, he shouted, let's go to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. I'm going to turn the headquarters of the Corpse Insect upside down. The Dark Emperor was definitely thinking of going to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. Although he had devoured and refined the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog, he still wanted to make a trip to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. He had to find out who killed the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog. He had to take revenge no matter what. Woof woof. Seeing the Dark Emperor's indignant expression, Harry Ball barked, as if agreeing with the Dark Emperor's words. Dark Emperor, it's not that I don't want to go to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. Ningyu briefly pondered, then said, there's something that you have to think about. The Corpse Dragon Venerable is guarding the Corpse Dragon Mountain range, and the Stone Dragon Venerable's cultivation is a second-grade sovereign. If you boast that you can kill a grade 2 human sovereign, I have no objections and will follow you to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. If you can't deal with a grade 2 sovereign, then I'm sorry, but you'll have to return to the capital first. Come back when you're stronger. The Dark Emperor fell into deep thought. Actually, the Dark Emperor really wanted to go to the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. However, what Ningyu said was right. The Corpse Dragon Mountain range was filled with second-grade sovereigns. Without absolute strength, going there would only be courting death. Rather than courting death now, it was better to endure for a period of time. It wouldn't be too late to go after he became stronger. Taking a deep breath, the Dark Emperor said, I've decided to return to the capital first. Alright, there's no time to lose. Let's clean up the scene first before returning to the capital. Ningyu nodded and began to clean up the scene. Ningyu wasn't a hothead. Only by destroying the corpses could he prevent anyone from the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion from discovering him. Right now, Ningyu's strength was still too weak to contend against the entire Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Swish. 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 After everything was settled, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor's figures flashed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. On the third day after Ningyu left Dugu Forest, Great Xia Kingdom, capital, Danwu College. I wonder when Ningyu will return. Old Ancestor Jiuemo paced back and forth in the assembly hall and said anxiously, Lu Wei's mother can only last for 3 days at most. If she doesn't take the revival good fortune pill after 3 days, she'll be in danger. Take 2 steps less. At the head of the hall, Mu Feng asked in a deep voice, How is Lu Xuan doing? Are there any emotional fluctuations? There aren't any emotional fluctuations. In the past few days, Lu Wei has been accompanying her mother. Below the assembly hall, Black Widow and the Black and White heroes sat on either side. Black Widow said, Dan Xingzi has already decided that as long as Ningyu doesn't dare to return tomorrow, he will personally refine the pill. AI Dan Xingzi is also an alchemy genius of his generation. If it weren't for Dan Xingzi would have already become a grade 8 alchemist. Mu Feng sighed and slowly said, When the time comes, I will preside over the revival good fortune pill with Dan Xingzi. Dean Mu, although Ning Yu's martial strength is very strong, his soul force isn't particularly heaven-defying. Even if he returns, it will be very difficult to refine the revival good fortune pill. The Black and White heroes said in unison. Haha, the 2 of you don't need to worry about this. I am still very confident in Ningyu. Mu Feng waved his hand and smiled. Is that so? Mu Feng's faint laughter had yet to end when an ethereal voice sounded in the assembly hall. Swoosh! The sudden voice caused everyone in the hall, including Mu Feng, to stand up in an instant and unleash their perception. Who? Mu Feng's expression was cold as he said in a deep voice. Gotcha! Gotcha! What responded to Mu Feng was the sound of space being torn apart. After the space was torn apart, 2 young martial artists slowly walked out from the crack. Mu Tian. Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Mu Feng exclaimed. Haha, you didn't expect it, right? I, Mu Tian, have returned. The corner of Mu Tian's mouth curled up and he smiled sinisterly. You just said that you are very confident in Ningyu. I don't know if you still have confidence in Ningyu after seeing my strength. As the word heart fell, Mu Tian rose from the ground and appeared in front of Mu Feng in the blink of an eye. Bang! Mu Tian's fist blasted out, bringing along bursts of yuan qi wind. Without any deviation, it landed on Mu Feng's chest. A huge force came from his chest, causing Mu Feng's body to retreat several feet. Poochie! Dark red blood spurted out. Mu Feng's face was filled with shock. How could Mu Tian's strength be so powerful? At this moment, not only Mu Feng had this thought, but the Black Widow, Old Ancestor Jiuemo, and the others also had the same thought. Mu Feng was in the middle stage of the manifestation realm, but he actually couldn't withstand a single move from Mu Tian. One could imagine just how powerful Mu Tian's overall combat power was. Mu Tian, I didn't come with you this time to see you show off. Hurry up and call Ningyu out. I want to see how powerful this martial artist who defeated you again and even nearly destroyed your confidence is. Next to Mu Tian, a young martial artist in a purple robe said lightly. Gotcha. Hearing the purple-clothed man's words, Mu Tian could not help but clench his fists tightly. Mu Tian hated it when people mentioned his defeat. If it wasn't for the purple-clothed martial artist's strength, he would have already made a move. When he returned from the Great Xia Kingdom to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Mu Tian chose to go into closed-door cultivation and entered the most brutal training grounds of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple to cultivate. Fortunately, Mu Tian quickly made a breakthrough and advanced to the half-step manifestation realm. The moment the half-step manifestation realm Mu Tian came out of the training grounds, he couldn't wait to head to the Great Xia Kingdom for revenge. Who would have thought that he would meet the 5th-ranked absolute genius of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Ling Ju? Chapter 841. I'll make it for you. Old fart, hurry up and tell Ningyu to come out, or I'll let you die a horrible death. Taking a deep breath, Mu Tian resisted the urge to flare up and said in a solemn voice, I don't want to start a massacre. I'll give you 10 minutes. If I don't see Ningyu in 10 minutes, then there's no need for you guys to exist in this world. Mu Tian, Ningyu isn't in the Great Xia Kingdom. At this time, Mu Feng had to shoulder the burden. A few days ago, Ningyu left the Great Xia Kingdom. No one knows where he went. Oh, you're still protecting Ningyu when you're about to die. Mu Tian gloomily said, looks like you won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Fine, I'll start with you, you old fart. Whoosh. Mu Tian was truly furious. During the time Mu Tian was cultivating in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple's training field, he was constantly thinking about killing Ningyu. It was with this belief that Mu Tian was able to persevere until he came out of the training field. Otherwise, Mu Tian would have died in the extremely dangerous training field. Attack together! Mu Feng bellowed when he saw Mu Tian making a move. Voila! Old Ancestor Jiuemo and the others understood the seriousness of the matter, so they immediately flashed out and cooperated with Mu Feng to fight Mu Tian. Patriarch Jiuemo was at the early stage of the manifestation realm, while Black Widow was at the mid-stage of the manifestation realm. The black and white heroes were also at the mid-stage of the manifestation realm. Logically speaking, with such a lineup, even if they encountered a martial artist in the later stage of the manifestation realm, they would be able to fight head-on. However, the martial artist they were fighting was none other than the Grand Nine Purities Palace's peerless genius, Mu Tian, who had endured hardships to gain courage. Mu Tian was originally ranked 10th among all the geniuses of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. However, after advancing to the half-step to manifestation realm, Mu Tian's overall ranking also increased along with his strength. Right now, Mu Tian was ranked 6th in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, just below Ling Ju. Courting death, Mu Tian vented all his anger towards Ningyu on Mu Feng and the others. Bang 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 bang! He punched out 4 times in a row, and in an instant, 4 fist lights appeared in the air and attacked Old Ancestor Jiuemo and the others. A crisp sound rang out. Ancestor Jiuemo and the other 3 weren't even able to withstand a single attack. Old fart, you dare to talk back to me? I'll let you have a taste of pain right now. After casually defeating Old Ancestor Jiuemo and the others, Mu Tian let out a cold harumph and instantly arrived beside Mu Feng. Pa Mu Tian's left and right hands moved at the same time, repeatedly slapping Mu Feng's cheek. After a while, Mu Tian stopped. On the other hand, Mu Feng's head was swollen like a pig's. I'll ask you one last time, where is Ningyu? Mu Tian asked in a deep voice. I'll still say the same thing. Ningyu left the capital a few days ago. As for where he is now, I don't know either. Mu Feng gritted his teeth. Good, very good. You don't want to say it, right? Even if you don't want to say it, I have a way. Suddenly, Mu Tian regained his composure and said, Just now, I heard you talking about the rebirth pill and Lu Wei. If I'm not wrong, Lu Wei must be Ningyu's woman. As long as I capture Lu Wei, Ningyu won't hesitate to act. Ah. After saying that, Mu Tian turned to Ling Ju and said, Brother Ling, please help me set up an array formation to trap these trash inside. No problem. In the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Ling Ju was not only strong in martial arts, but his attainments in array formations were also extremely heaven-defying. Hearing Mu Tian's plea, Ling Ju waved his hands repeatedly. Suddenly, 4 cold lights flew out from his sleeve. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The cold lights were none other than 4 flags. After the flags were planted around the hall, Ling Ju took out 4 royal-grade origin crystals and used them to suppress the flags. Rise. As Ling Ju shouted, 4 pillars of light rose from the flags and enveloped Mu Feng and the others. Looking at his masterpiece, Ling Ju clapped his hands and said, Done. Let's go and find Lu Wei. Mu Tian did not want to stay here any longer. In a flash, his figure flashed and disappeared. Ling Ju followed closely behind. He tore open the void and entered. in the forbidden area of Donwu College. There were a total of 4 people in a secret room. They were Lu Wei, Lu Wei's father, Lu Derong, Lu Wei's mother, and Dan Xingzi. At this moment, Lu Wei and Lu Derong were standing respectfully to one side. As for Dan Xingzi, he was sitting cross-legged on the bed. Opposite him was Lu Wei's mother. Dan Xingzi placed his hands on Lu Wei's mother's back and continuously injected his primal qi into Lu Wei's mother's body. Phew! After about 3 minutes, Dan Xingzi slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi. 3 days. Your wife can only hold on for 3 days. Dan Xingzi got off the bed and said to Lu Derong, within 3 days, there must be a life-giving pill. Otherwise, even if God Deluo comes, there's no hope of saving her. Sigh, although I've been recovering well, the strength of my soul power is still at the peak of grade 7. Then, Dan Xingzi sighed and said, if my soul force had reached the 8th grade, then I would have a 30% chance of refining the pill of good fortune if I work together with Mu Feng. Now I only have a 10% chance. Senior Dan, when do you plan to start refining the life-giving pill? Lu Wei asked hurriedly. Tomorrow. As long as Ningyu doesn't return tomorrow, I will. Dan Xingzi took a deep breath and said, in my opinion, don't expect to refine the life-giving pill tomorrow. Dan Xingzi was halfway through his sentence when a faint laughter came from outside the room. Crack! Then, the wooden door was smashed into pieces. 2 young martial artists walked in side by side. The 2 young martial artists were none other than Mu Tian and Ling Ju. Wow, there are so many people here. After entering the room, Mu Tian's lips curled up and his eyes fell on Lu Wei. If I'm not mistaken, you should be the woman Ningyu likes, Lu Wei, the great beauty Lu, right? Lu Wei turned her head away and said nothing. Don't worry, I'm very protective of the fairer sex. I won't kill you. Mu Tian shrugged and continued, on the contrary, I'll even help you refine the life-giving pill for you. Swoosh. As he spoke, Mu Tian's figure burst out and swept past Dan Xingzi like a bolt of lightning. Medicinal herbs. Dan Xingzi's expression changed drastically as he touched the storage bag in his pocket. Don't make a fuss. I said I'll help you refine the life-giving pill, so I won't go back on my word. Mu Tian waved his hand and sat down with his legs crossed. He took out a round cauldron. At the same time, Mu Tian dragged the cauldron with his left hand and grabbed the medicinal herbs with his right hand, throwing them into the cauldron one by one. Mu Tian even displayed his 6th grade soul force and pretended to refine the life-giving pill. What are you doing? Seeing how Mu Tian was wasting the medicinal herbs, Lu Wei screamed and charged at Mu Tian. Bang! Lu Wei had just taken a few steps when Ling Ju raised his right hand and made intimate contact with her stomach. Chapter 842. Chapter 842 Arrive in time. Ha ha ha. I love it when everyone related to Ningyu dies. Seeing Lu Wei hit the wall and spit out blood, Mu Tian stood up and laughed maniacally. Not only that, I'm going to destroy the herbs used to refine the elixir of rebirth. As he spoke, Mu Tian exerted strength in his wrist and threw the cauldron down. Crack! With a crisp sound, the cauldron shattered and the elixirs inside scattered all over the floor. Ningyu, if you still don't show up, I'll have to kill Lu Wei to force you out. Mu Tian's eyes turned cold. In the next moment, Mu Tian gave Ling Ju a look. His meaning was self-evident. Mu Tian, I'm just here to meet the so-called #1 prodigy of the Great Xia Kingdom. You want me to kill her? Are you kidding me? Ling Ju stood still and frowned. Mu Tian was used to ordering people around in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, so he did not change his words. Smiling awkwardly, Mu Tian dashed toward Lu Xuan in a flash. Bang! Seeing Mu Tian dashing toward Lu Wei, Lu Derong immediately stood in front of Lu Wei. Without a doubt, Mu Tian's punch that was supposed to land on Lu Wei's chest had landed on Lu Derong's chest instead. The huge force on Lu Durong's chest caused his face to contort and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Old fart, since you're courting death, I'll send you on your way. Mu Tian was angry that his fatal punch was blocked by Lu Durong. Extremely angry. Mu Tian was extremely terrifying when he was angry. Now that Mu Tian's cultivation was at the half-step to manifestation realm, he could kill Lu Durong 10 times, or even 100 times. Mu Tian's lips curled into a cold smile and his figure gradually turned illusory. Swoosh. However, before Mu Tian's figure disappeared completely, a cold ray of light came from outside the room. The sudden change did not catch Mu Tian's attention. Mu Tian knew very well that Ling Ju would help him solve this problem. Ling Ju did not disappoint Mu Tian. He waved his sleeves and a cold light collided with the cold light coming from outside the room. Chi-chi. The two beams of cold light collided with each other, only emitting a chi-chi sound before vanishing into thin air. Xiao. Xiao. However, just as Ling Ju was about to disperse the cold light, another 2 rays of cold light came from outside the room. Humph! You're courting death. This change made Ling Ju lose face. He coldly snorted and rushed out of the room. Bang! However, before Ling Ju could rush out of the room, he was pushed back several feet by a giant palm print that came from the void. Who? You are so sneaky and don't dare to show your face. Ling Ju swallowed the blood in his throat and said in a deep voice, If you have the ability, then show yourself. As you wish. An indifferent voice resounded in the room. Then, a group of 6 martial artists appeared in the room. 2 humans and 4 beasts. Ling Ju was taken aback by the sudden appearance of the figure before him. Ning Yu. On the other side, Mu Tian stopped in his tracks and stared at Ning Yu with an ecstatic expression on his face. I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're finally willing to come out. Ning Yu did not respond to Mu Tian directly. Instead, his eyes slowly moved around the room. When he saw the medicinal herbs scattered on the floor and Lu Wei and the others who were severely injured in the corner, Ning Yu's face completely darkened. After taking a deep breath, Ning Yu said in a deep voice, Mu Tian, I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't cherish it. Now you dare to come to Danwu College and cause trouble. If that's the case, then there's no need for you to exist in this world. Ah! Mu Tian seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then, his eyes turned cold as he said, Are you sure you're talking to me? I'm no longer the Mu Tian from a few days ago. After the training in the training field, my cultivation base has advanced to. Stop. I don't care if you're Mu Tian or not. Either way, you're not going to have a good ending since you've caused trouble here. Ning Yu waved his hand and interrupted Mu Tian. I've even killed a half-step honorable realm cultivator, let alone a half-step manifestation realm cultivator like you. Dark Emperor! Here. The Dark Emperor stood on his hind legs and responded. Hold this cultivator off for me. I'll deal with him myself in 3 minutes. After giving the order, Ning Yu rushed out in an instant. Violent Yuan Qi appeared on his fist, and he fiercely punched Mu Tian's head. Ning Yu's punch was powerful. If Mu Tian was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he did not die. He's so strong. Mu Tian initially felt disdain when he heard Ning Yu's arrogant words. Trying to kill him in 3 minutes? What a fool's dream! However, feeling the violent primordial qi on Ning Yu's fist, Mu Tian was finally moved. He hurriedly gathered the primordial qi in his sea of consciousness on his wrist and threw a backhand punch, which collided with Ning Yu's fist. Bang! When the 2 fists collided, a crisp sound was heard. Swoosh! Swoosh! Immediately, the 2 figures retreated rapidly. Ning Yu was retreating to where Lu Wei and Lu Durong were while Mu Tian was retreating to where Ling Ju was. As expected of the top prodigy of the Great Xia Kingdom. He's so powerful. Through the exchange between Ning Yu and Mu Tian, Ling Ju could tell that Ning Yu was very powerful. There were very few cultivators who could go against Mu Tian head-on. Moreover, Ning Yu was a cultivator who was born and raised in the great Xia kingdom. Ling Ju could not help but look at him in a different light. What top prodigy of the great Xia kingdom! He's nothing in front of me. Ling Ju compared him to Ning Yu. Mu Tian was furious. He shouted, "After today, there will be no more Ning Yu in the great Xia kingdom. Silver-winged dragon, twin-horned beast, stay here and watch over Lu Wei. We'll be right back." Ning Yu instructed and said to Mu Tian, "We can't fight here. Why don't we fight outside?" "Alright, let's fight outside," Ling Ju said loudly. Hearing Ling Ju's words, Mu Tian felt like he had been f***ed. His original intention was to fight here. After all, Lu Wei and the woman who was lying on the bed were here. If he fought with Ning Yu here, Ning Yu would definitely not be able to bring out his full strength. If they fought outside, it would be disadvantageous for them. "Don't just stand there. Get out now." Ling Ju slapped on Mu Tian's shoulder and rushed out of the room. Mu Tian had no choice but to glare at Ning Yu fiercely. He then followed Ling Ju and disappeared into the distance. "Ning Yu, don't worry. After I kill you, I will take good care of Lu Wei for you." Ning Yu did not intend to let Mu Tian go. Now that Mu Tian said something like this, it infuriated Ning Yu even more. "Dark Emperor, Furball, you just need to stop the other cultivator. I want to kill Mu Tian myself." Chapter 843. Two duels. Jin is Ning Yu really that powerful? Lu Durong asked hesitantly as he watched Ning Yu leave. Lu Durong was shocked. Mu Tian's strength was incredible, but Ning Yu did not take him seriously. It seemed that Ning Yu was no weaker than Mu Tian. "Ning Yu is powerful, but I don't know if he is Mu Tian's match." Lu Wei gritted her teeth. "Forget it. Now that things have come to this, we can only wait." Lu Durong muttered. "Don't worry. Ning Yu is a freak. He is half a step away from becoming a supreme. Forget it, there is no point in telling you all this. Anyway, don't worry," the silver-winged dragon explained when it saw Lu Wei and the rest were worried. "Hee, if even Ning Yu can't kill Mu Tian, then I'm afraid no one in the entire capital is Mu Tian's match." The twin-horned beast was not worried at all as it chuckled. "Alright, we believe in Ning Yu." Lu Wei and the rest were relieved after hearing the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast's words. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, on the empty ground outside the room, Ning Yu, Ling Ju, Mu Tian, the Red Devil, the Dark Emperor, and Furball were divided into two groups. Ling Ju and Mu Tian were in one group, while Ning Yu and the rest were in the other. "Ning Yu, I didn't expect you to advance to the half-step manifestation realm," Mu Tian said in a low voice as he sensed the powerful aura coming from Ning Yu. "Shut up." Ning Yu would not waste time talking to Mu Tian. Mu Tian had gone too far. Not only did he destroy the medicinal ingredients needed to make the vitality pill, he even injured Lu Wei. If Mu Tian had only destroyed the herbs, Ning Yu might have let him live. However, Mu Tian injured Lu Wei and wanted to kill Lu Wei. Ning Yu would never forgive him for this. Therefore, after Ning Yu's deep voice faded, his body dashed forward and headed straight for Mu Tian. "Ling Ju, don't interfere. I can handle Ning Yu by myself." Looking at the approaching Ning Yu, Mu Tian waved his hand, indicating that Ning Yu did not need to do anything. He was very confident that he could blast Ning Yu into smithereens. "I don't care." Ling Ju didn't plan to make a move in the first place, but after hearing Mu Tian's words, he flew to the other side and watched the duel between Ning Yu and Mu Tian. Although Ling Ju did not make a move, the Dark Emperor and Furball did not let down their guard. They released their senses and focused all of their attention on Ling Ju. If Ling Ju dared to make a move, they would immediately stop him. "Ning Yu, I want to see what you're capable of." Mu Tian appeared in front of Ning Yu in an instant. His right hand emitted a terrifying wave of primordial qi as he punched at Ning Yu's heart. In order to kill Ning Yu in one move, Mu Tian took out a silver-white flying sword and stabbed at Ning Yu's heart. In Mu Tian's opinion, even if Ning Yu could block his fist, he would not be able to block his flying sword. No matter what, one of the two attacks would be effective. Solitaire. However, Mu Tian had obviously underestimated Ning Yu's strength. Before his fist could reach Ning Yu wielded the red demon sword and slashed out with a sword wave. Swoosh! In midair, a huge sword ripple separated from the red demon's sword and collided with Mu Tian's fist, unable to avoid it. As soon as the sword wave came into contact, Ning Yu's sword wave dissipated into thin air. Ha ha ha, I thought you were powerful. It turns out that you're just an embroidered pillow. Next, I'll show you the power of a king-ranked mid-grade flying sword. Mu Tian was slightly stunned when he easily dispersed the sword wave from Ning Yu's sword wave. Then, he laughed maniacally. To be able to die under a king-ranked mid-grade flying sword, it's a worthy death. After that, Mu Tian held the silver-white flying sword in his hand. He charged straight at Ning Yu. Is that so? Seeing Mu Tian's confident look, Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and waved the red demon sword in his hand. Boom! In the next moment, numerous sword waves swept out and enveloped Mu Tian from all directions. As expected of the number one prodigy of the great Xia kingdom. His strength is enough to compete with Mu Tian. Ling Ju murmured as he looked at the two of them fighting. Then, he changed the topic and said, however, once Mu Tian uses his trump card, Ning Yu will definitely die on the spot. This battle is not what? However, before Ling Ju could finish his sentence, his mouth was slightly agape as he looked at the battlefield in disbelief. Crack! In midair, Ning Yu wielded the red demon sword and slashed at Mu Tian's silver-white flying sword. A crisp cracking sound resounded in the area. Everything seemed to have stopped. Mu Tian looked down at the king-ranked mid-grade flying sword that was left in his hand. He felt like he had been F***ed. Gulp. Mu Tian forcefully swallowed his saliva and said in shock, a flying sword that can break a king-ranked mid-grade flying sword must be at least a king-ranked flying sword. Swoosh. In the distance, Ling Ju's expression changed drastically when he heard Mu Tian's words. A king-ranked flying sword? That was a treasure. Even in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, there were very few martial artists who owned a king-ranked flying sword. There might be many king-ranked flying swords in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, but there were only one or two king-ranked flying swords. However, those two king-ranked flying swords were in the hands of the higher-ups. It was impossible for martial artists like them to get their hands on them. If I can get my hands on a king-ranked flying sword, my combat strength will at least double. Ling Ju's face was burning with passion. He charged out without hesitation. Mu Tian, I'll lend you a hand. Ling Ju's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was several feet away. Your opponent is us. Don't disturb Ning Yu. The Dark Emperor harumphed coldly when he saw Ling Ju's attack. He instantly stood in front of Ling Ju. A few useless dogs dare to stop me. Ling Ju said coldly, since you're courting death, I'll send you to heaven first. After that, I'll deal with Ning Yu. How dare you call me a dog? You'll pay for that. The Dark Emperor hated being called a dog the most. This was especially so after he advanced to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. This taboo became even more intense. One had to admit that Ling Ju was really bold for daring to commit such a crime. Furball, Redskin, you guys stay here and watch. Let me deal with this so-called genius. As the Dark Emperor rushed out, he turned his head and said to Furball and Hong Mo, what you need to pay attention to is whether Ning Yu defeated Mu Tian. I can deal with this arrogant cultivator alone. Stupid dog, if you dare to stop me, I'll send you to heaven first. Ling Ju said coldly. Ha, there are many people who want to kill me. You're just a half step to the manifestation realm. You're not qualified. The Dark Emperor opened his mouth and instantly spat out an energy ball. Swoosh! The energy ball tore through the void and arrived next to Ling Ju in a flash. A stupid dog is so powerful. Ling Ju was secretly shocked when he sensed the power of the energy ball. He could not help but re-evaluate Ningyu. Chapter 844. Easy kill, Mu Tian, be careful. Oh no. No matter what, Ling Ju and Mu Tian were fellow disciples of the same sect. Ningyu was powerful. Ling Ju had to warn Mu Tian. However, before Ling Ju could finish his sentence, he stopped abruptly. The Dark Emperor had already torn through the void and appeared in front of him. A terrifying aura erupted from the Dark Emperor, indicating that his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the manifestation realm. Ling Ju was very surprised to see a dog in the middle stage of the manifestation realm. One must know that even as a peerless genius of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Ling Ju's cultivation was only at the half-step manifestation realm. How could Ling Ju not be shocked that a dog was in the middle stage of the manifestation realm? In Ling Ju's opinion, the Dark Emperor was still no match for him. Damn dog, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish first. Ling Ju turned around to look at the battle between Ningyu and Mu Tian. He slightly relaxed and turned to fight the Dark Emperor. Mu Tian and Ningyu were evenly matched for the time being. Neither could do anything to the other. Under this premise, Ling Ju could naturally devote himself to the battle with the Dark Emperor. Roar! The Dark Emperor roared at the sky and raised his front paw, aiming for Ling Ju's heart. After all, Ling Ju was a peerless genius of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. If he was so easily caught by the Dark Emperor, where would his face go? Ling Ju's body slightly moved to the side and easily dodged the Dark Emperor's attack. At the same time, Ling Ju waved his sleeve and took out a silver-white flying sword. King Middle Grade Flying Sword. White Sword. The flying sword in Ling Ju's hand was called White Sword, King Middle Grade Flying Sword. I might be a little afraid if you also have a King Middle Grade Flying Sword. But you're just a dog without a flying sword. What makes you think you can fight me? Ling Ju stabbed out with the white sword, intending to kill the Dark Emperor. Humph. You want to defeat me with a mere King Middle Grade Flying Sword? You should take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror. The Dark Emperor had seen King Middle Grade Flying Swords before. How could he be afraid of a King Middle Grade Flying Sword? You're about to die, yet you still dare to be stubborn. The ignorant are truly fearless. Ling Ju desperately poured his yuan qi into Bai Wujian, causing it to tremble slightly. Buzz. After the trembling sound, Ling Ju's Bai Wu sword flew out of his hand and attacked the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, I'll help you! At this critical moment, Hong Mo let out a low shout and instantly rushed out. The Red Fiend knew the Dark Emperor's strength. Although his cultivation level was at the mid-stage of the creation realm, his overall strength could only match a warrior at the peak of the creation realm. Ling Ju's combat power was top-notch even among martial artists at the peak of the manifestation realm. In fact, Ling Ju might even stand a chance against a half-venerable realm cultivator. The Dark Emperor would definitely be at a disadvantage against Ling Ju, and there was a high chance that he would be killed. Ha ha, Redskin, it's been a long time since we fought side by side. Today, let's have a good fight. Seeing the Hong Mo helping him, the Dark Emperor burst into laughter. Woof woof! Not long after the Hong Mo made his move, Furball barked a few times and joined the battle. If the Dark Emperor was very happy that the Red Fiend had joined the battlefield, then the Dark Emperor's expression changed slightly when Furball joined the battlefield. He even berated, "Furball, you have to help Ningyu." Woof! Furball howled indignantly at the Dark Emperor before turning to look at Ningyu. Seeing this, the Dark Emperor also looked at Ningyu. It would have been fine if he did not look, but the moment he did, the Dark Emperor cursed. F***ck. The Dark Emperor even had the urge to curse. In the battle between Ning Yu and Mu Tian, he had the absolute advantage. It could be said that it was an adult beating a child. The Dark Emperor's face darkened. Damn it, your combat power is so strong, and you want us to watch Ling Ju? The most annoying thing was that Ning Yu could have easily killed Mu Tian, but he had been suppressing Mu Tian and did not use his full strength. It's not good to be distracted now. Seeing that the Dark Emperor was distracted, Ling Ju smirked and said sinisterly, "Most of the time, being distracted is the biggest cause of death." "I'm distracted?" "Distracted my ass." The Dark Emperor did not get distracted. Although he looked at Ning Yu, he was constantly paying attention to Ling Ju. When Ling Ju came to his side, he suddenly enlarged and a pair of purplish-gold wings appeared on his back. What? Purplish-gold sky-devouring hound. At this moment, Ling Ju was extremely shocked. Hee, it's not good to be distracted now. The Dark Emperor smiled and repeated what the Hong Mo had said earlier. Moreover, the Dark Emperor did not just say it. He also put it into action. In an instant, the Dark Emperor came to Ling Ju's side and grabbed him with his front paw. At the same time, Furball and the Hong Mo appeared on the other side of Ling Ju and each launched a powerful attack at Ling Ju's head. Very good, very good. At the critical moment, Ling Ju waved his hands and 3 streaks of cold light shot out from his sleeve. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 streaks of cold light were extremely fast. Before the attacks of the Dark Emperor and Furball could land on Ling Ju, 3 cold beams of light struck the bodies of the Dark Emperor and the others. Bang, bang, bang. This proved that the power of the cold light was extremely powerful. Even though the Dark Emperor and Furball were strong, they could not withstand the powerful attack of the cold light. Poochie, poochie, poochie. 3 consecutive sounds of blood being spat out could be heard in the area. The aura of the Dark Emperor, Furball, and the Hong Mo dropped from their peak to the bottom. Humph! I'm the genius of the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. If I'm defeated so easily, how am I supposed to show my face in the Supreme 9 Purities Temple in the future? Ling Ju raised his brows and said coldly, "I didn't want to kill, but today, I have no choice but to do so. All of this is because of you, is that so?" Before Ling Ju could finish his words, a calm voice rang in his ears. When he heard the familiar voice, Ling Ju was slightly taken aback and turned around. This glance caused Ling Ju to reveal a terrified expression. In midair, Ning Yu stood with his hands behind his back, his face devoid of joy or sorrow. Ling Ju's gaze fell on the area below Ning Yu. Mu Tian was lying flat on the ground below Ning Yu. His eyes were wide open and there was a hint of fear on his face. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. After a brief moment of shock, Ling Ju roared like a madman. No matter how weak Mu Tian is, he's still a half-step to manifestation stage practitioner. Moreover, he had the trump card given to him by the Grand Supreme Elder. How could you kill him so easily? Nothing is impossible. Ning Yu leaped and slowly landed on the ground. Although Mu Tian is a half-step to manifestation stage practitioner, he won't be able to gain any advantage against me. Chapter 845. Unkillable, what? How could the ancient scroll be in your hands? Looking at the ancient blue scroll in Ning Yu's hand, Ling Ju was shocked. After all, the blue ancient scroll was given to him by Mu Tian's father to save his life. Mu Tian was a peerless genius from the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. No matter how weak he was, he shouldn't have been killed by Ning Yu before he could even use the ancient scroll, right? If it was true, then how powerful was Ning Yu? A series of questions popped up in Ling Ju's mind. Nothing is impossible. Ning Yu kept the ancient scroll and said, "Mu Tian has been going against me time and time again. He tried to kill me and even tried to kill Lu Wei. It's reasonable for me to get rid of him." "You're different. There's no enmity between us. If you can take out the ingredients needed to refine the revival good fortune pill, I can let you live. Are you sure you're not joking? Ling Ju stared at Ning Yu and said, "The pill of good fortune is an 8th grade medicinal pill, and it's the best among all 8th grade medicinal pills. If I were in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, I might be able to get the medicinal ingredients in a short time. But now, where do you expect me to find them? I don't care about that. In short, hand over the medicinal ingredients and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, no one will be able to stop you." As he spoke, Ning Yu's face turned completely gloomy. "Humph. You're only half a step into the manifestation realm. You want to kill me? It won't be that easy." Ling Ju snorted. "You can try." Ning Yu's eyes turned cold. The moment he said try, his body rose from the ground and rushed out like a bolt of lightning. "I'm not afraid to tell you that I don't actually have a good relationship with Mu Tian. Initially, I didn't intend to avenge him. Since you're so stubborn, I can only do justice on behalf of the heavens." Looking at the approaching Ning Yu, Ling Ju took a deep breath and swung the white sword in his hand. Walala! In an instant, several sword gleams suddenly appeared in midair. Countless sword waves blasted towards Ning Yu. Insignificant skill. Ning Yu swung the red demon sword in his hand as he flew. Hua! Several sword ripples separated from the red demon's sword and collided with Ling Ju's sword gleams. Chi-chi! When the sword light and the sword wave collided, there was naturally a sizzling sound. After the sound, Ning Yu and Ling Ju came into close combat. He is indeed the #1 prodigy of the Great Xia Kingdom. His strength isn't considered weak. If Ling Ju didn't know why Mu Tian would kill him earlier, then after exchanging blows with Ning Yu, he finally understood. It was definitely not a coincidence that Ning Yu could kill Mu Tian. In terms of martial arts strength alone, Ning Yu could be ranked in the top 5 of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Moreover, this was just a conservative estimate. If Ning Yu had any powerful trump cards, he could even be ranked ahead of him. Their strength is on a completely different level. When Ning Yu killed Mu Tian, it didn't take much effort. It could be said that he killed Mu Tian effortlessly. However, after exchanging one blow with Ling Ju, Ning Yu determined that even 10 Mu Tians might not be Ling Ju's match. "Ning Yu, I'm coming to help you." In the distance, the red demon saw that Ning Yu didn't have the upper hand. He immediately let out a low shout and entered the red demon's sword. One with the sword. At this moment, the red demon had completely fused with the red demon's sword. A royal grade flying sword that has developed a spiritual body. Ling Ju's eyes were very sharp. He clearly saw the red demon turning into a shadow and entering the red demon's sword. The fact that the red demon's sword was a royal grade flying sword was enough to shock Ling Ju. Now that he discovered that the red demon's sword had developed a spiritual body, how could he not be excited? After a brief moment of excitement, Ling Ju was slightly dazed. He was thinking about how to get his hands on the red demon's sword. Bang! Without a doubt, Ling Ju paid the price for his daze. Ning Yu threw a punch and landed squarely on Ling Ju's chest. Fortunately, Ling Ju dodged Ning Yu's next fatal blow. Otherwise, even if he didn't die, he would have been seriously injured. Hiss! Ling Ju sucked in a breath of cold air as he dodged the fatal strike. Slash! He threw the white sword in his hand and pointed it at Ning Yu's heart. Ling Ju's sudden action puzzled Ning Yu. Logically speaking, Ling Ju should not have thrown out his king-grade medium-grade flying sword when he knew he had a royal-grade flying sword. This was because there was an 80% chance that a king-grade medium-grade flying sword would be mercilessly cut in half against a royal-grade flying sword. Crack! The result was not out of Ning Yu's expectations. The red demon sword slashed at the white sword, cutting it in half. Buzz! As soon as the white sword was cut in half, Ling Ju disappeared from the area. Trying to sneak attack me? Ningyu used his powerful perception and instantly found Ling Ju's location. However, Ningyu did not make a sound. Instead, he turned to the Dark Emperor and said, "Did you guys find Ling Ju?" "How did I? It's good that you didn't find me. Even an honorable realm martial artist can forget about finding me, let alone a half-step manifestation realm piece of trash like you." Before Ningyu finished speaking, Ling Ju appeared behind him. With a sinister smile, Ling Ju's fist carried an extremely terrifying fluctuation of yuan qi and ruthlessly punched toward Ningyu's head. In order to kill Ningyu, Ling Ju used 100% of his strength in this punch. The corner of Ling Ju's mouth rose. It was as if he could see Ningyu being killed. One had to know that Ling Ju's punch with 100% of his strength could easily kill a peak manifestation realm martial artist. Ling Ju had even used this move to sneak attack a half-step supremacy realm martial artist. At that time, although that half-step supremacy realm martial artist did not die, he was bedridden for half a month before he recovered to his peak state. Ling Ju did not believe that Ningyu's strength could compare to a half-step supremacy realm martial artist. "Trying to sneak attack me? Hee, little do you know, I already know your location." Ningyu suddenly turned around. The red demon sword in his hand trembled as he stabbed out. Puff! The sound of a flying sword piercing flesh rang out. At this moment, time seemed to stop. Gulp! Ling Ju swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He lowered his head to look at the blood-red flying sword in his heart. He was dumbfounded. "How did you find me?" Ling Ju pointed at Ningyu and said with the last bit of strength in his body. "How did I find you?" Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Although your concealment technique is powerful, I'm also good at concealment techniques. Therefore, you can't hide from me." "That's right, not only can I find you, but I also know that you're pretending to be on the verge of death." Ningyu continued, "The moment the red demon sword pierced your heart, I knew that your heart is not on the left, but on the right. Kaka. Since you know that my heart is on the right, I can only send you to hell." Chapter 846. Half-Beast. Half-Beast. Ningyu could not help but take a few steps back when he saw Ling Ju's appearance. Ling Ju's eyes were bloodshot and his hair stood on end. Even a pair of blood-red wings grew out of his back. Half-beast god-slaying bird. Half of Ling Ju's appearance was that of the god-slaying bird, and the other half was his own. "I didn't expect you to be a half-beast." Ningyu stared at Ling Ju and said in a deep voice, "I've been hiding in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple for many years and have gradually forgotten that I'm a half-beast. If you hadn't forced me to reveal my true form, I'm afraid I would have continued living as a human." Ling Ju took a deep breath, as if he was reminiscing about the past. After a while, Ling Ju said coldly, "Since you've discovered my true form, I'm sorry to say that you're destined to die today." Swoosh! Ling Ju's wings flapped rapidly, and it only took him 0.01 seconds to arrive in front of Ningyu. Then, Ling Ju used his extremely sharp claws to grab at Ningyu's neck. Slash! After a brief moment of shock, Ningyu quickly slashed the red devil sword at Ling Ju's claws. Screech! Ling Ju let out a cry, turned around, and charged at the Dark Emperor. After transforming into his true form, Ling Ju's senses and speed had become much stronger. Before Ningyu could react, Ling Ju and the Dark Emperor were already engaged in battle. Boom! The Dark Emperor naturally transformed into his true form, the purple-gold sky-devouring hound, to fight against Ling Ju. Although Furball did not transform into his true form, he cooperated with the Dark Emperor to attack Ling Ju. "Purple-gold sky-devouring hound, if I devour you, I might be able to reach the early stage of the manifestation realm." Ling Ju's eyes were filled with passion. As a half-beast, Ling Ju had also mastered the art of devouring. The ancient god-slaying bird was an existence that was not inferior to the sky-devouring hound. However, after tens of thousands of years of evolution, the power of the half-beast god-slaying bird's bloodline had become extremely thin. A mixed bird wants to devour me? The Dark Emperor was enraged. The god-slaying bird of the primordial era might be comparable to the purple-gold heaven-devouring dog, but the Dark Emperor was fearless against the half-beast god-slaying bird. In midair, the Dark Emperor and Ling Ju were fighting. As the Dark Emperor's bloodline was relatively pure, and with Furball's help from the side, the outcome of the battle was actually not decided. The Dark Emperor won't be able to hold on for long, I have to think of a way. Ningyu frowned as he thought of a countermeasure. Although the Dark Emperor and Ling Ju seemed to be evenly matched on the surface, Ningyu knew that the Dark Emperor could only last for 3 more minutes. After 3 minutes, the Dark Emperor would definitely be killed. Ningyu, the god-slaying bird, has a fatal weakness. Just as Ningyu was pondering, the Red Fiend's voice sounded in his ears. As long as you can cut off the wings on his back, his strength will drop by at least half. Hearing this, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and revealed a happy expression. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu rushed out and joined the battlefield. Ha ha, mixed hairy bird, your good days are over. Seeing that Ningyu had joined the battlefield, the Dark Emperor laughed. Do you think that's all I can do? Although Ningyu had joined the battle, Ling Ju did not take it to heart at all. The next moment, Ling Ju snorted coldly, and the blood-red wings on his back flapped rapidly. In an instant, he tore through the void and disappeared. Not good. Seeing that Ling Ju had disappeared, Ningyu's expression changed drastically. Don't worry, let me blast him out. The Dark Emperor waved his hand, indicating for Ningyu to calm down. Calm down my ass. Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor fiercely, then tore through the void and flew toward the room where Lu Wei was. Actually, the moment Ling Ju disappeared, Ningyu knew what he wanted to do. Lu Wei. Ling Ju was well aware that he was no match for Ningyu and the others at the moment. If the battle continued like this, the one who would be killed was destined to be him. Therefore, Ling Ju thought of another way. He would capture Lu Wei and force Ningyu to let him go. Ling Ju thought of this and did it. In the room where Lu Wei was, the silver Quetzalcoatlus and the twin-horned beast sensed something unusual and immediately rushed out. Seeing the silver Quetzalcoatlus and the twin-horned beast, Ningyu hurriedly shouted, "Silver Quetzalcoatlus, twin-horned beast, attack the space in front of you with all your might." Although the silver Quetzalcoatlus and the twin-horned beast did not know why Ningyu wanted them to attack, they still used all their strength to attack the space in front of them. Rumble! An earth-shattering sound rang out. Then, a figure rapidly flew out from the void. Ling Ju, if you fight me head-on, you might have a chance to escape. But since you want to launch a sneak attack, I'm sorry, but this day next year will be the day you die. Looking at Ling Ju flying out from the void, Ningyu slashed the red demon sword in his hand. In an instant, countless sword waves appeared and slashed toward Ling Ju's back. Ningyu's goal was clear, and that was to chop off Ling Ju's wings. Block it. Ling Ju also guessed Ningyu's intention. He quickly flapped his wings and shot out several rays of cold light to block the sword waves in midair. Chi-chi. At first, Ling Ju was able to block several sword waves from Ningyu. But as time passed, Ling Ju's yuan qi gradually weakened. Crack! 3 minutes later, Ningyu took advantage of Ling Ju's carelessness and slashed down an even more powerful sword wave. Solitaire! A waist-thick sword wave appeared on Ling Ju's back and slashed at Ling Ju's blood-red wings. A crisp sound rang out. A pair of blood-red wings fell from Ling Ju's back. Mixed hairy bird, let's see how you can jump without wings. As soon as Ningyu chopped off Ling Ju's wings, the Dark Emperor charged out with a roar. The Dark Emperor loved to beat up dogs when they were down. No, it should be the mixed hairy bird. Just as the red demon sword said, Ling Ju's combat strength was halved after losing his wings. How could Ling Ju be a match for the Dark Emperor with his strength halved? The outcome was obvious. Before Furball could do anything, the Dark Emperor killed Ling Ju. Moreover, the Dark Emperor also devoured Ling Ju's thin bloodline power, which he happily devoured. Although the bloodline is thin, it's better than nothing. The Dark Emperor licked his lips and said, Ning Yu, if I devour a few more martial artists like the mixed hairy bird, I can even reach the mid-stage of manifestation. The Dark Emperor was now at the early stage of manifestation and was only a step away from the mid-stage of manifestation. Moreover, there was still energy in the Dark Emperor's body that had not been refined. As long as he completely refined the energy, he could even reach the mid-stage of manifestation on the spot. Clean up the battlefield. I'll go check on Lu Wei. Ningyu waved his hand and stomped on the ground, wanting to rush into the room. Bang! Bang! However, just as Ningyu moved, he saw two figures being thrown out of the room. Looking closely, Ningyu was very familiar with these two figures. Chapter 847. People from the Ice Region PFFF. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Their mid-stage manifestation realm aura instantly dropped to the yin-yang realm. Looking at the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast's miserable state, Ning Yu's expression turned gloomy. Lu Wei, you don't belong here. Hurry up and return with me. Subsequently, a gloomy voice came from the room. You will only be wasting your talents if you stay in the Great Xia Kingdom. I don't know who you are, why should I go with you? In the room, Lu Wei spoke in a cold voice. Dark Emperor, treat the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast first. I will go take a look. Ning Yu's eyes turned cold as he instantly rushed out. Ning Yu's speed was very fast. In just 0.01 seconds, he arrived at the door of the room. However, just as Ning Yu arrived at the door, he was stopped by a young man. Get lost. The young man didn't put Ning Yu in his eyes as he immediately threw a punch at Ning Yu. Not good. Feeling the horrifying essence force in the young man's fist, Ning Yu's eyes turned dim as he quickly dodged to the side. Fortunately, Ning Yu's speed was very fast. Otherwise, this young man's punch would be enough to send him to heaven. Wow, I didn't expect the Great Xia Kingdom to have such a prodigy. Not simple indeed. The young man didn't expect Ning Yu to dodge his punch, and was a little shocked. Crossing his arms in front of his chest, the young man looked at Ning Yu with interest and said, In our sect, with your strength, you should be able to become an inner disciple. You might even have the chance to become a core disciple. Du Feng, why are you wasting your breath on him? He is just a martial artist from a low-class kingdom. Hurry up and kill him before he divulges our matter. Inside the room, a similarly young cultivator said impatiently, It was not easy to find Lu Wei this time. If something happens and the higher-ups blame us, we won't be able to bear the consequences. Kiki Wan Quan, you are thinking too much. The strongest expert in the Great Xia Kingdom is only at the peak stage of the creation realm. Du Feng smiled faintly and said, You and I can kill many peak manifestation realm martial artists with a single move. Why worry? That being said, it's always better to be careful, Wan Quan said. Who are you? Why are you taking Lu Wei away? Hearing the conversation between the two young men, Ning Yu scolded. From the conversation between the two young men, Ning Yu obtained an important piece of information. They came to the Great Xia Kingdom to bring Lu Wei away, and they were entrusted by someone. Combined with the fact that Ouyang Ba had tried to capture Lu Wei several times previously, Ning Yu deduced that Lu Wei's identity was definitely not simple. As for Lu Wei's background, Ning Yu had no idea. However, regardless of Lu Wei's identity, as long as Lu Wei did not agree, Du Feng and Wan Quan could forget about taking Lu Wei away. Kiki, do you really want to know our identities? Hearing Ning Yu's words, Du Feng raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, Let me tell you something in advance. Those who know our identities have all disappeared. Now, do you still want to know? Actually, it doesn't matter if I don't know your identities, but if you want to take Lu Wei away, you should at least ask Lu Wei if she agrees, right? Ningyu frowned. I don't agree. I don't even know them. Lu Wei yelled. As you can see, Lu Wei doesn't want to leave with you. Ningyu waved his hand and said, if you know what's good for you, leave at once. Otherwise, you'll cause unnecessary trouble. Trouble? What kind of trouble could there be? Wan Quan scolded. I'm not afraid to tell you that we are not from the Sky Demon region. We are from the Ice region. As for which sect we are from, with your status and strength, you are not worthy to know. Lu Wei, I know why you don't want to leave. At that moment, Du Feng pointed at the woman lying on the bed and said, the pill of rebirth. This woman needs the pill of rebirth to live, and we happen to have the ingredients to refine the pill of rebirth. If you agree to leave with us, we will help you refine the pill of rebirth immediately. What? You can help me refine the pill of rebirth? Hearing this, Lu Wei gritted her teeth, looked at Ningyu, and said in a low voice, as long as you can refine the pill of rebirth, I agree to leave with you. Haha, you really are gullible. Although we have the ingredients to refine the pill of rebirth, it is not that easy to refine. Du Feng smiled in his heart, and then he sent a voice transmission to Wan Quan. Let's take out the ingredients first and trick Lu Wei into leaving with us. Alright, let's do that. This year just happens to be the year when the extreme Yin body erupts. Any large fluctuation in emotions could cause it to erupt earlier. Wan Quan nodded, and then he took out a storage pouch from his robes. The sudden change in Du Feng and Wan Quan left Ningyu scratching his head in confusion. Just a moment ago they were shouting about fighting and killing, so why did they change so quickly? The conditions here are not suitable to refine the pill of rebirth. In my opinion, we should find a quiet place to refine the pill. Wan Quan looked around and then said, Lu Wei, if you need the pill of rebirth, then get rid of all the unrelated people. That's right, the pill of rebirth is extremely difficult to refine. The slightest disturbance will cause the refinement to fail, so it's better for unrelated people to leave. Du Feng agreed. This, Lu Wei's face showed a difficult expression. In truth, Lu Wei did not trust Du Feng and Wan Quan from the bottom of her heart. Such fickle people were most likely not good people. Experts from the ice domain, can you take out the ingredients for me to inspect? There are a total of 1 to 200 kinds of ingredients needed to refine the pill of rebirth. I don't believe that you have them with you, Ningyu said, knowing what Lu Wei was thinking. Who do you think you are to look at our ingredient? Wan Quan said coldly. Who doesn't know how to brag? The strength of your soul force is at best at the peak of grade 6. The pill of rebirth is a grade 8 pill, are you sure you can refine it? Ningyu said disdainfully. The people of the Sky Demon region are indeed ignorant and inexperienced. Du Feng took out a crystal ball from his bosom and said, this thing can strengthen our soul force in a short period of time. Although our soul force is only at the peak of 6th grade, with this crystal ball, we can strengthen our soul force to the 8th grade realm. Isn't refining the pill of rebirth a piece of cake? Since the two of you are so capable, why don't I find a quiet place for you? Ningyu still looked as calm as before. How can a place like the Great Xia Empire, where even birds don't shit, be quiet? Du Feng shouted coldly. However, Du Feng's cold shout stopped abruptly before it could finish resounding through the air. This was because Ningyu had mentioned a place that shocked him. A pill cave. If you refine pills in a pill cave, no one will disturb you. Chapter 848. Soul Assimilating Powder. Chapter 848. Soul Assimilating Powder. We have been to all kinds of dangerous places. How can a mere elixir cave scare us? After a brief moment of shock, Du Feng snorted, we also want to see what's so special about the elixir cave of the Great Xia Kingdom. That's right. There are countless elixir caves in the ice region. We once met a Supreme Realm elixir puppet in one of the elixir caves. I'm sorry, but we killed it together, Wan Quan added. Since that's the case, why don't we move to the elixir cave and refine the elixir revival there? As he spoke, Ningyu gestured for them to leave. His meaning was self-evident. Let's go. Du Feng glared at Ningyu and left the room immediately. Wan Quan didn't stay any longer. He discreetly left a smear of medicinal powder on Lu Wei and followed Du Feng out of the room. No one else noticed Wan Quan's small action, but Ningyu's sharp senses did. Why don't you take them down? As soon as Du Feng and Wan Quan left the room, Hong Mo's voice echoed in Ningyu's ears. It's not that simple. If I'm not wrong, Du Feng and Wan Quan came prepared. They must have a powerful trump card. Ningyu shook his head and whispered, moreover, they aren't weak. They might only be at the half-step creation realm, but I'm sure they are much stronger than Ling Ju. Stronger than Ling Ju? That's troublesome. Hong Mo frowned. Hong Mo had witnessed how strong Ling Ju was. Now that there were two more martial artists that were stronger than Ling Ju, it was indeed difficult to deal with them. Most importantly, they had just experienced a huge battle and weren't at their peak. It wasn't wise to clash with Du Feng and Wan Quan at this time. Actually, I'm not concerned about Du Feng and Wan Quan's strength, but Lu Wei's identity. Ningyu took a deep breath and said slowly, the fact that Du Feng and Wan Quan rushed over from the ice domain shows that Lu Wei's identity is definitely not ordinary. The Pill Cave is almost completely isolated from the outside world, so it's more convenient for us to act inside. Then, Ningyu turned around and smiled at Lu Wei. Wait here first. I'll definitely bring the Revival Good Fortune pill over in a day. Without waiting for Lu Wei to say anything, Ningyu immediately left the room. Looking at Ningyu's back, Lu Xuan bit his lips. No one knew what he was thinking. Ningyu, I heard that you're going to the Pill Cave? Outside the room, the Dark Emperor had already treated the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned vet. Seeing Ningyu come out, the Dark Emperor said, I want to go too. You stay and look after Lu Wei. Ningyu frowned. Haha, we're very interested in this dog. Let him go to the Pill Cave with us. Not far away, Du Feng smiled faintly. Ningyu's expression was gloomy. He did not make a decision immediately. To be honest, given the Dark Emperor's current battle strength, he could not last more than 3 moves against either Du Feng or Wan Quan. It was extremely dangerous to let the Dark Emperor go to the Pill Cave. What, so cowardly? Seeing Ningyu hesitate, Du Feng continued, since that's the case, I think there's no need to go to the Pill Cave. Everyone should go back to their homes and find their own mothers. Why are you wasting time with him? Let's go back and forcefully take Lu Wei away. Wan Quan was very angry. He turned around and was about to fly back to his room. I'll let you guys show off for a while. I'll let you guys suffer when we get to the Pill Cave. Ningyu was very angry inside, but he looked calm on the surface. He waved his hand and said, the Pill Cave is very big. One more person won't affect anything. One more person? Ha ha ha, it's clearly one more dog. Du Feng seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world and laughed wildly. Sigh, Du Feng, it's better not to say things so bluntly in someone else's place. Wan Quan sighed softly. The first sentence was fine, but the second sentence was sinister. I haven't eaten dog meat in a long time. I wonder if I can eat meat tonight. Hearing Wan Quan and Du Feng's ridicule, the Dark Emperor could not help but tremble. He looked like he was about to explode. But at the critical moment, Ningyu pressed his palm on the Dark Emperor's shoulder and said indifferently, the two of you don't have the slightest intention of going to the Pill Cavern. Do you want to refine the revival pill here? Wan Quan, how long will it take for the soul-absorbing powder to take effect? Du Feng and Wan Quan did not directly answer Ningyu's question. They began to discuss in private. About 10 minutes. Wan Quan said, You also know that you can't use too much of the soul-absorbing powder. Otherwise, it might backfire and cause the extreme Yin body to erupt prematurely. 10 minutes? Du Feng pondered for a moment before saying, "Let's not go to the pill cave. We'll pretend to refine the elixir of creation here. After 10 minutes, when the soul-absorbing powder is completely effective, we'll make a move and get rid of all these small fries." "Good idea." Wan Quan nodded. "Ningyu, we've thought about it and found that it's quieter here. Let's refine the elixir of creation here." Du Feng turned around and said to Ningyu, "The elixir of creation is very difficult to refine. It's better for unrelated people, oh no, unrelated dogs to leave quickly." "You." The Dark Emperor knew that Du Feng was referring to him. He immediately flew into a rage. "Don't be impatient." Ningyu comforted him. "The most important thing right now is the elixir of creation. Everything else can be put aside for now." Seeing that the Dark Emperor's anger had not subsided, Ningyu whispered a few words in the Dark Emperor's ear. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor's face revealed a furious expression. He then tore open the void and entered. "Don't worry. With me around, it's very safe here. If it weren't for your silver spear wax heads, you'd be able to refine the elixir of creation in a day at the latest." Ningyu said lightly. "Humph. Du Feng, start the furnace." How could Wan Quan tolerate being mocked by Ningyu? After a cold snort, Wan Quan sat down cross-legged, took out a pill furnace and began to refine the elixir of creation. Wan Quan was only a peak tier 6 alchemist. If he wanted to refine the elixir of creation, he had to increase his soul force to the tier 8 level. The soul force of a peak tier 6 alchemist could at most refine some simple medicinal ingredient. There were hundreds of medicinal ingredients needed to refine the elixir of creation. With Wan Quan's current refining speed, it would take at least 1 to 2 hours to refine the key medicinal ingredient. Therefore, Ningyu was not worried that Wan Quan would waste the medicinal ingredient. Simple medicinal ingredients were very common. Ningyu was only worried about the key medicinal ingredients. As long as the key medicinal ingredients were not destroyed, Ningyu would not feel nervous or worried at all. TSK. Time passed by minute. In the blink of an eye, 5 minutes had passed. What's going on? Why can't my senses enter the room? It seems like the room is sealed by something. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.